So hey, what's up guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel, and today we are gonna see what if Harry Potter was abducted at the age 3 and was raised by Arcturus Black. So yeah, welcome back to our YouTube channel Cosmic Harry, and if you're new to this channel, please make sure to subscribe and like the video. Now without any further ado, let's get straight to the video. But before we move on to the story, I just want to let you know that we are super close for 10k subscribers. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure to subscribe, it really means a lot. Also, because of some YouTube community guidelines, I have to make this short intro. So always remember to skip 40 to 45 seconds of my video, or 30 to 35 seconds. So yeah, without any further delay, let's get straight to the video.
The night the blacks came for him, Harry was awake, because his stomach hurt. It was the kind of hurt that made him curl tighter, knees tucked up, toes cold against the thin blanket. The cupboard under the stairs smelled like old mop water and dust, and the air felt thick. He could hear the clock in the sitting room tick, 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 like it was telling him to stay quiet. Above him, the house was loud. Vernon Dursley's voice came down through the wood like a fist. "I told you, Petunia, I told you. We are not having any more of this freakish nonsense in my house." Petunia answered, sharp and fast. "Keep your voice down. The neighbors will hear. Let them hear." Vernon snapped. "Maybe then they'll understand what we've been forced to live with." Harry pressed his hand over his mouth, because his breathing was too noisy. He hated when Uncle Vernon was angry. Angry meant the big footsteps. Angry meant the cupboard door yanked open so hard it banged the wall. Angry meant hands that shoved him, and a face that went red and wet around the eyes. A thud hit the floor upstairs. Dudley's laugh followed, high and cruel, like a squeal. "Dudley, stop that," Petunia said, but it was the kind of stop that didn't mean stop. Harry's throat burned. He wanted water. He wanted his mummy. He tried to remember her, but the picture in his head didn't stay still. It was hair that smelled nice, arms that felt warm, and a voice singing something soft. Then it slipped away, and all that was left was dark. The cupboard door creaked a little as the house shifted. Harry held his breath, listening. Vernon's voice came again, closer this time, moving toward the hallway. "I saw it, Petunia." The boy looked at the telly and it flickered. And the bulb in the kitchen popped last week. And the neighbor's cat wouldn't come near the garden. "You're being ridiculous," Petunia hissed, but Harry could hear the fear underneath. "It's probably the wiring. This house is old. This house is fine," Vernon said. His shoes hit the hallway floor, heavy, heavy, heavy. "It's him." Harry squeezed his eyes shut. The cupboard door jerked open so fast it pulled the air with it. Light spilled in, harsh and yellow. Vernon filled the doorway, huge and blocking everything. His tie was loose and his face was shiny. Petunia stood behind him with her arms folded tight across her chest, lips pinched like she was holding something awful back. Vernon looked down at Harry like Harry was dirt on his shoe. "Well." Harry didn't know what well meant. He stared up, blinking. His cheeks felt stiff from crying earlier. He tried to swallow and it hurt. Petunia's eyes flicked over him, quick and cold. "Stop staring. You'll make it worse." Harry's stomach made a small noise. He flinched before Vernon could react. "Oh, don't start," Vernon said, like the sound was an insult. "You ate." Harry shook his head a little. It was the truth. He hadn't eaten since the crust earlier, the one Petunia tossed like she didn't want to touch him. Petunia sighed like Harry was exhausting. She reached behind her and grabbed something from the table. A piece of bread, stale and hard, with a smear of butter that looked thin and angry. She held it out without bending down, like she expected him to climb for it. "Here," she said. "Take it and be quiet." Harry reached with both hands. His fingers shook. When he touched the bread, Petunia let go fast, like the bread was dirty now. Harry clutched it and pulled it to his chest. Vernon leaned closer, his shadow swallowing Harry again. "No noise," he said. "Not one peep. If I hear you, boy, I'll give you something to cry about." Harry nodded hard. His neck hurt from nodding so fast. Vernon slammed the cupboard door shut. Dark again. Harry sat for a second, breathing fast. The bread smelled like the kitchen. He took a bite, and it scraped his gums. He chewed anyway because his belly didn't care if it hurt. Upstairs, Dudley's feet ran across the floor. Petunia's voice rose. Vernon's voice rose higher. The house was full of their anger, like there was no space for anything else. Then something changed. It happened so quietly that Harry thought at first he imagined it. The clock's ticking stopped. Not slowed. Stopped. The air in the cupboard went cold. Cold enough that Harry's skin goosebumped. The wood around him creaked, but not like normal house creaks. This creak sounded like it came from deeper, like something old waking up. Harry froze with bread halfway to his mouth. He listened. The shouting upstairs cut off mid-sentence. Vernon's voice died like someone grabbed it. Petunia's breath made a little sound, sharp and startled, then nothing. For a heartbeat the house was silent. Harry didn't move. He couldn't. His eyes were wide in the dark, and he held onto the bread like it was the only thing real. A soft tap came from the hallway floor outside the cupboard. Tap, 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 like a cane tip. Harry's heart started pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. Another tap, slow and measured, and then a different sound, like a quiet scrape, metal against wood. A key. A knife. Harry didn't know. The cupboard door opened. Not jerked open like Vernon did. It opened smoothly, like someone respected the hinges. Light fell in, but it wasn't the yellow hallway light. It was paler, cooler, like moonlight made solid. Harry blinked and saw a figure standing there, tall and straight, wrapped in a dark cloak. The cloak wasn't shiny like Vernon's suit. It looked thick and heavy, like it belonged outside in the night. The man's face was long and lined. His hair was white, brushed back, not messy. His eyes were a hard gray. He held a cane in one hand, its tip resting on the floor where Harry had heard the tapping. On his other hand was a ring, dark and heavy, with a carved shape on it that caught the pale light. Harry stared at the ring, because it was the first thing that made sense. It looked like something important. It looked like something that made people listen. The man looked down at Harry without flinching. Harry's mouth opened. The scream came out before he could stop it. It was loud. It was raw. It tore at his throat. He screamed because strangers were danger. He screamed because the cupboard wasn't supposed to open like that. He screamed because the pale light made the shadows wrong. The man didn't even blink. He crouched slowly, joints stiff but controlled. He didn't try to smile. He didn't put on a soft voice. He just watched Harry like he was taking measurements. "You can scream if you like," the man said. His voice was low and steady. "It will not change what is happening." Harry screamed harder. Upstairs something crashed. A chair maybe. A shout tried to start and got strangled into a cough. Footsteps pounded toward the hallway, fast and panicked. The man turned his head slightly, listening, then looked back at Harry. "You are small," he said, like it was an observation, not sympathy. "Underft. Kept in a cupboard. That is careless." Harry didn't understand all the words, but he understood the tone. It was the way Uncle Vernon sounded when Dudley broke something expensive, except colder. The man reached in. Harry tried to scramble back, but there was nowhere to go. The cupboard wall pressed against his shoulders. His fingers scraped wood as he pushed away. The man's hand closed around Harry's middle and lifted. Not gently. Not roughly either, just firm. Like Harry was an object that needed moving. Harry kicked. His feet hit air. The bread fell from his hands and landed on the cupboard floor with a soft thump. Harry screamed again, louder, because the bread was gone and now there was nothing to hold. The man shifted Harry so Harry's back was against the man's chest, one arm across Harry's belly like a bar. Harry could feel the man's cloak against his cheek, cold fabric. He smelled the man too. Not like soap and cooking like the Dursleys. This smell was parchment and old wood, and a sharp, clean scent like winter air. Vernon appeared in the hallway, face red, eyes wide. For 1 second he looked confused, like his brain couldn't accept what he saw. Then his expression twisted into rage. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" Vernon bellowed. His voice came back all at once, loud enough to shake the light fixture. "Put that boy down. Put him down right now." Petunia came behind him, clutching her dressing gown shut. Her eyes locked on Harry, then on the stranger. Her mouth opened, but no sound came for a moment. Dudley stood at the top of the stairs, peeking around the banister, eyes big and curious like this was a show. The man holding Harry looked at Vernon like Vernon was an inconvenience. "This is not your house," the man said. "It is a temporary box." Vernon took a step forward, fists clenched. "I'll call the police." The man's gaze flicked to the phone on the hallway table, then back. "Do." Vernon's face went purple. He lunged. Harry flinched because Vernon lunging meant pain, and Harry's body knew it before Harry's mind did. The man moved his cane, just a small motion, like he was pointing. There was a crack. Not loud like thunder, sharp like a branch snapping right next to your ear. Vernon froze mid-step. His arms jerked stiff at his sides. His mouth opened, eyes bulging, but he couldn't move. He looked like a statue that was still breathing. Petunia let out a thin, strangled noise. "Vernon, silence," the man said, and Petunia's sound cut off like someone pinched it. Her lips moved, but no voice came. Dudley squealed from the stairs. "Mum." Petunia's eyes flashed to Dudley, panic breaking through the cold for the first time. She tried to run, but her feet stuck like the floor held her. Harry shook with fear. He didn't understand magic, but he understood when adults stopped being able to do what they wanted. It made the world feel wrong. He started crying, the scream turning into sobs that made his chest hurt. The man adjusted his hold on Harry, keeping him close. "Breathe," he said, not kindly, but not cruelly either. "If you faint, you will make this more difficult." Harry couldn't stop crying. His nose ran. His cheeks went hot. The man looked at the hallway walls, at the doorframes, like he was reading something invisible. He tapped the cane tip once against the floor. Tap. The pale light in the hall flickered. Harry felt something press against his skin, like when the air changes before a storm. The hair on his arms lifted. His crying hitched. A thin line of blue light appeared in the air near the front door, like a thread pulled tight. It hummed. Harry could feel it in his teeth. The man's ring caught the light again. He raised that hand and traced the air with one finger. The blue thread shivered, then slid aside like a curtain being pulled. Petunia's eyes widened. Her face went gray. She mouthed something, eyes on the man's ring. The man didn't look at her. He looked at the space the blue thread had guarded, then nodded once, satisfied. "These protections were stitched over older work," he said, mostly to himself. "Sloppy. Assumptive." From upstairs, a low buzzing started, like a swarm of angry insects. The light bulb over the hall flickered, then went dark. Harry whimpered as the house fell into shadow again. The man turned, walking toward the front sitting room. His steps were quiet. Harry could feel each movement through the man's chest, steady and controlled. Vernon's eyes followed them, frantic. He made a choking noise, trying to force words out. Petunia's face twisted with helpless anger. Dudley began to cry, loud and messy, because this was the first time in his life something scary happened that wasn't about him being bored. The man reached the sitting room door. He didn't touch the knob. He tapped the cane tip against the doorframe. Tap. The air in front of the door folded. Harry's eyes watered because it looked wrong. The space didn't rip like paper. It just opened, like a mouth-making room. Beyond the doorway was not the sitting room. Beyond was darkness and a smell like damp stone. Harry started to thrash again. The man tightened his arm, pinning Harry's arms to his sides without hurting him, but not letting him fight. "You are going," the man said, calm as ever. "You have been left. You will not be left again." Harry didn't understand. He just knew he was being carried into dark that wasn't their house. His crying turned into gasping. His chest hurt. His head felt light. As the man stepped through, something snapped behind them. A burst of green light flashed in the hallway, bright enough that Harry saw it through his tears. A sound like glass shattering exploded in the air. The front window in the sitting room cracked across, spider lines racing. The curtain caught fire for half a second, then went out as if the flame was swallowed. Petunia's silent scream became visible in her face, mouth wide and eyes squeezed shut. The man didn't turn back. The doorway closed behind them with a soft click. Darkness held them. Harry could hear his own crying, small and ragged, and the man's breathing steady. He could hear a distant drip, drip, drip like water in a cave. The man took 3 steps. Then the darkness shifted. Cold air hit Harry's face. He blinked hard and saw a narrow street under a night sky. The buildings were close together, older, leaning. A single gas lamp burned nearby, its light weak and yellow. The ground was wet stone. The smell was soot and old rain. Harry stared hiccuping. The man set his cane tip down and looked around once, quick. Then he walked again. They stopped in front of a tall house that looked like it didn't want to be noticed. It blended into the row, but the air around it felt heavy, like it was pushing back. The man raised his ring hand and pressed his finger to the door, right above the lock. There was a small click, like a lock accepting a key. The door opened inward without a sound. Warmth spilled out, but it wasn't warm like the Dursleys' house. This warmth was stale, like heat trapped too long. It smelled like dust and old fabric. The man stepped inside. The door shut behind them. Harry's crying slowed, partly from exhaustion, partly because the silence in this house was different. It was thick and watchful. The air felt like it was full of eyes. A whisper came from somewhere, thin and sharp, like a portrait hissing. Blood. I smell blood. Harry's body tensed again. He hid his face in the man's cloak, shaking. Quiet, the man said, and the whisper faded into a low mutter. They moved through a hallway lined with shadows. Harry saw shapes on the walls, frames, faces that shifted. He heard a low chuckle, then a cough. The house sounded alive in a way the cupboard never did. At the end of the hall, the man stopped at a door and pushed it open. Inside was a bedroom. It was big, too big for Harry. The bed was tall and covered in dark fabric. A fire burned low in the grate, its light red and dull. The room smelled like old books and something sharp, like metal. The man walked to the bed and lowered Harry onto it. Harry sat, wobbling. The mattress was softer than the cupboard floor. It sank under him. He grabbed the blanket with both hands, grounding himself. The man stepped back, cane in hand, watching Harry like Harry might run. Harry didn't run. There was nowhere to run to. Harry's crying turned into quiet sniffing. His face was wet. His eyes burned. The man's gaze dropped to Harry's hands, empty now. Then to the cupboard dirt on Harry's knees. Then back to Harry's face. You were kept in a cupboard, he said again, like he needed to hear it twice. For what crime? Harry sniffed. His lip trembled. He didn't know what crime was. The man reached into his cloak and pulled out a small vial. He uncorked it. The smell hit Harry, bitter and sweet at once. Harry shrank back. No, he whispered. It came out rough. The man paused. You distrust adults. Good, hold on to that. He set the vial on a table near the bed, not forcing it. It is a calming draught. You are shaking. Harry was shaking. He looked at his hands and saw it, small tremors. His teeth chattered. The man straightened. Stay, he said. Then he turned and left the room, closing the door behind him with a soft but final click. Harry sat alone on the bed. The house creaked. The fire popped once. Somewhere in the walls, something skittered. Harry listened, eyes wide, too tired to cry again. He tried to climb off the bed, but it was tall. He scooted to the edge, legs dangling. The floor looked far. His stomach growled again, quieter this time, like it was embarrassed. Harry's eyes filled again. Mummy. He whispered into the empty room. No answer. The door opened without a knock. Harry jerked, almost falling. A creature stepped in, short and bent, with big ears and a long nose. Its eyes were watery and bright. It wore a dirty pillowcase like clothes. Its hands were thin and trembling. Harry stared, frozen. The creature bowed low, forehead almost touching the floor. Master is safe. It whispered, voice like dry leaves. Creature kept the house. Creature kept the blood. Harry didn't know what master meant. He clutched the blanket, breathing fast. Creature lifted his head slowly and looked at Harry. His eyes narrowed, suspicious. Not black, he muttered. Not black. Harry's throat tightened. He didn't want to be told he didn't belong. Not again. Creature sniffed the air. His nose wrinkled. Smell like cupboard, he said, disgusted. Smell like muggles. Filthy. Harry flinched at the word filthy. Petunia said it sometimes. Creature took a step closer to the bed, hands clasped tight. Then his face changed, just a flicker, like something else pushed through the disgust. Blood. Creature whispered again, softer. Black blood under all that. Harry's eyes stung. He didn't understand. But he understood the shift. The creature was still scary, but not the same kind of scary. Creature snapped his fingers. A cup appeared on the bedside table with a soft pop. Water sloshed inside. Next to it appeared a small plate with bread, fresh, soft, and a bit of cheese. Harry stared at the food like it might vanish. Creature sniffed again. "Eat," he ordered. Master does not like weak. Harry's hands shook as he reached for the bread. He tore off a piece and shoved it in his mouth. It was soft. It tasted like real food. His eyes filled again and he chewed hard, swallowing fast because he was scared someone would take it away. Creature watched him with a hard gaze. "Slow," he snapped. "Choke and you die." "Then Creature has to clean." Harry tried to slow. He took the cup and drank. The water was cool. It ran down his throat and made the tight feeling loosen a little. Creature's ears twitched as if he heard something down the hall. He bowed quickly. "Master comes," he whispered, then vanished with a crack. Harry jumped at the sound, nearly dropping the cup. Water spilled on the blanket. He stared at the wet spot, breathing fast. The door opened again. The man came in. He looked the same as before. Straight back, cane, ring. Gray eyes that missed nothing. He saw the spilled water, the food, the empty space where Creature had been. His mouth tightened for a moment. "Creature," he said, not loud. A crack. Creature appeared by the door, bowing so low his nose almost touched the floor. "Master," Creature rasped. "You fed him," the man said. Creature's eyes flicked to Harry, then away. "Master is safe." Creature repeated, like it was the only sentence he trusted. The man's gaze stayed on Creature. "Do not frighten him." Creature's ears drooped slightly. "Creature does what the house requires." "The house." The man echoed, voice flat. "And I require restraint." Creature's hands twisted in his pillowcase. He looked miserable and offended at the same time. "Yes, master." The man moved closer to the bed and looked down at Harry. Harry's cheeks were still wet. He held bread in one hand, cup in the other. He stared back, trying to be brave because crying didn't change anything. The man had said so. The man's eyes dropped to Harry's face, then to the bruise on Harry's arm that Harry didn't even remember getting. His jaw set. "You ate," the man said. Harry nodded. "Good," the man replied. It wasn't praise, it was an evaluation. Harry swallowed. His voice came small. Where am I?" The man's gaze didn't soften. "My house." Harry frowned. "Your house."
Yes.
Harry's mind tried to grab onto something. "My cupboard." The man's mouth twitched, not quite a smile. More like irritation. "No cupboard. Not here." Harry's hands tightened on the cup. "Uncle Vernon." The man's eyes sharpened. "Is not your uncle?" Harry blinked. That didn't make sense. Uncle Vernon said he was Uncle Vernon. Petunia said it too. The man leaned forward slightly, cane still in hand, ring catching the firelight. "Listen," he said, and the word landed heavy. "Your mother and father are dead. You have been left in the care of people who despise you. That ends tonight." Harry's breath hitched. His chest went tight again. The words dead and ends pressed against him like the cupboard walls. He shook his head hard, small and stubborn. "No." The man didn't argue, he didn't soothe. He just watched Harry's face as if he was waiting for the truth to settle. Harry's eyes burned. "Mummy," he whispered. "Where's my mummy?" The man held still. For the first time, there was a pause long enough that Harry felt it. The man's eyes flicked away, just for a heartbeat, toward the fire. His fingers tightened on the cane. "Dead," the man said at last. "For you." Harry made a broken sound. It wasn't a word. It was pain trying to get out. He slid backward on the bed until the pillow pressed against his back. He pulled his knees up, curling in, face scrunched tight as he tried not to fall apart. The man didn't reach out. He sat in a chair across from the bed, posture straight, as if he was holding himself in place. "Your name," he said, voice still low. Tell me your name." Harry sniffed hard. Tears dripped down his chin. "Harry," he whispered. The man's eyes stayed on him. "Harry what?" Harry's mouth trembled. "Harry Potter." The man nodded once, slow. "Yes, Harry Potter." Harry waited, confused. Adults usually said his name like it was a bad thing, like it was something to spit. The man said it like it mattered. Harry swallowed and asked the next thing his brain could hold. "Who are you?" The man's gaze didn't flinch. Arcturus Black. The name meant nothing to Harry. It sounded like a spell. It sounded heavy. Harry stared at the ring again, then at the cane. "Black," he repeated. Harry's face twisted. "Are you police?" Arcturus's mouth tightened. "No." Harry tried another guess. "Are you doctor?" "No." Harry's voice went smaller. "Are you bad?" Arcturus's eyes narrowed slightly, like the question amused him in a bitter way. "I am what your world requires when decent men choose to be blind." Harry didn't understand that at all. He just heard the firmness. He heard that the answer wasn't yes, but it also wasn't no. Harry's fingers dug into the blanket. "Can I go back?" Arcturus's gaze locked onto him. "No." Harry's breath hitched again. He felt panic rise, hot and fast. He started to cry again, louder, because no meant no, and no meant the cupboard, and no meant Uncle Vernon's hands. Arcturus didn't move. He let Harry cry until Harry's voice cracked, and the crying turned into choking hiccups. When Harry's breathing began to calm, Arcturus spoke again. "You may hate me," he said. "I do not require gratitude." Harry's eyes were swollen. He stared, trying to understand. "Why?" he whispered. Arcturus tapped the cane tip once, soft against the floor. "Because blood calls," he said. "And because you were left unclaimed." Harry frowned. "Claimed." Arcturus's gaze shifted, measuring Harry's face. "You do not know what that means yet." Creature made a small sound by the door, like he wanted to interrupt but didn't dare. Arcturus glanced at him. "Bring the packet," he said. Creature bowed and vanished with a crack. Harry flinched again, but not as hard as before. His body was learning new kinds of fear. Arcturus leaned back in the chair. "Do you know what happened to the people who killed your parents?" he asked. Harry's face scrunched. "Bad man," he whispered. It was the only thing he remembered people saying. "Bad man. Don't talk about it. Don't ask." Arcturus's eyes cooled. "Yes, a bad man. The world calls him gone. The world lies when it is convenient." Harry stared at the fire, because looking at Arcturus's eyes made his stomach feel weird, like falling. Arcturus's voice stayed steady. "Your parents died protecting you. That is the truth. Everything after has been handled." The word handled sounded like Uncle Vernon handling him, and Harry's hands clenched. Arcturus saw it. His gaze flicked to Harry's hands. "Your body reacts before your mind," he said almost to himself. "Noted." Harry's breath came out shaky. "I want my mummy." Arcturus's jaw tightened. "Wanting will not bring her back." Harry's cry came again, smaller and broken. For a moment, Arcturus's eyes softened by a fraction, like a crack in stone. It was gone fast, but Harry saw it. He saw that the man wasn't made of nothing. There was something under the hard. Arcturus stood. The movement made Harry flinch, but Arcturus didn't come toward the bed. He moved to a table near the fireplace, where papers were stacked neatly. He picked up a small object, a folded piece of parchment sealed with dark wax. Creature appeared at the door again, holding a wrapped bundle. He hurried across the room and handed it to Arcturus with both hands, reverent. Arcturus took it, eyes on the seal. "Leave," he told Creature. Creature bowed and vanished. Harry stared at the bundle. His crying had stopped. Now he was curious, because that was what kids did when fear paused. Arcturus sat again, bundle on his lap. He looked at Harry. "This," he said, tapping the wrapped paper once, "is a will." Harry didn't know that word. He frowned. "It is what people leave behind when they die," Arcturus explained. "It tells the world what was meant to happen when they are gone." Harry's throat tightened again at the word die, but he forced himself to listen. He wanted to know. Even if it hurt. Arcturus broke the wax seal with a clean motion. The sound was soft, but it made Harry's skin prickle. He unfolded the parchment slowly. His eyes moved over the lines, scanning fast. His face stayed still, but Harry could see tension in the way Arcturus's fingers held the paper. Arcturus reached the end of the page. He stopped. Harry's heart thumped. He watched Arcturus's face, waiting for something. Arcturus turned the parchment over as if expecting more. There was nothing. He set it down carefully. Then he opened the bundle further and pulled out another piece. His movements were precise, controlled. He scanned again. Another stop. Arcturus's fingers tightened on the paper so hard the parchment bent slightly. Harry swallowed. "What?" he whispered. Arcturus didn't answer right away. He reached into the bundle and pulled out a third piece, then a fourth. Harry watched, confused, as Arcturus laid them out on the table in order. He stared at them like they were a puzzle that someone had stolen pieces from. Arcturus's jaw worked once. His eyes narrowed. "This is incomplete," he said, voice still low, but now there was something sharper under it. Anger, controlled but real. Harry's mouth went dry. "Incomplete? A missing page," Arcturus said. He looked at Harry again, eyes hard. "A does not lose a page by accident." Harry didn't know what page meant exactly, but he understood missing. Like missing food. Like missing mummy. Arcturus leaned back and stared at the fire for a second, as if he was forcing himself to think, not act. Then he spoke, calm again. And that calm was worse because it meant he decided something. "Albus has been editing history," Arcturus said. Harry blinked, the name meaningless to him. Albus. Arcturus's gaze stayed fixed on the papers. Albus Dumbledore. The fire popped softly. In the quiet after his words, Harry felt the house settle around them, creaking like it approved. Arcturus picked up the first page again, eyes scanning as if each line was now a weapon. Harry sat on the bed, small and shaking, bread forgotten in his hand, and stared at the man who had taken him. Outside the room, somewhere deeper in the house, a portrait laughed under its breath. And in the pale firelight, the gap where the missing page should have been felt like a hole in the world, waiting to swallow whoever stepped too close. The hair-right Harry tried to yank his hand back, but Arcturus's grip stayed firm around his wrist. "Hold still," Arcturus said. Not loud, not gentle, just final. Harry's palm was pressed to something cold and flat, stone. It felt damp, like the house sweated in the dark. He squirmed on the stool, toes barely reaching the footrest, and his throat tightened as he pushed out a tired little whine. "No," Harry said, voice shaky. "No. Creature hovered by Arcturus's elbow, ears twitching. "Master should bind the brat," he muttered, like he wanted to be helpful and insulting at the same time. Little hands always wriggle. Little hands ruin old magic. Harry turned his head fast, eyes wide. He didn't like the way the elf looked at him. He didn't like the way the elf called him brat like it was normal. Arcturus didn't look at Creature. He kept his eyes on the stone. "He is not to be bound," Arcturus said. "If the house cannot accept him awake, then the house can rot for all I care." Creature's mouth pinched. He looked offended on behalf of the walls. "The house does not rot. The house waits." Harry's fingers curled, trying to grip the edge of the stone plate and pull away. The cold went up his arm. Arcturus leaned closer, cane tucked under one arm, ring hand steady. "Harry," he said. Harry flinched at his name, but he looked anyway. Arcturus's eyes were sharp in the low firelight. Not kind, not cruel, like a knife set down carefully. "You want to live," Arcturus said. Harry sniffed. "I want food." Creature made a sound like a cough that might have been a laugh. Arcturus ignored him. "You want to not be put in a cupboard again," Arcturus said. "You want to not be hurt." Harry's chin trembled. He nodded, quick and desperate. "Then you hold still," Arcturus said. "This is how people stop taking you." Harry's breath hitched. He didn't understand the words properly, but he understood stop taking you. He understood cupboard. He swallowed hard and forced his hand flat again, like he was trying to be brave on purpose. The room they were in was not the bedroom from last night. This room felt older, deeper. The air smelled like dust and metal, and something like smoke trapped inside stone. The only light came from two sources: the low fire behind Arcturus and a faint glow coming off the thing under Harry's hand. The stone plate was set into a stand like an altar, black and polished, with carved lines that twisted into shapes Harry could not read. They were not pictures. They were rules, set in stone. Arcturus picked up a thin silver needle from a tray and held it over Harry's finger. Harry's eyes locked on it. "No." He whispered again, smaller. "It will hurt," Arcturus said, briefly. Harry's breath sped up. His shoulders climbed toward his ears. Arcturus didn't hesitate. He pricked Harry's finger with one clean touch. Harry shrieked, loud and sharp. The sound echoed off the stone. His whole body jerked, and for a second his palm peeled away from the plate. Arcturus caught his wrist and pressed it back down. Not hard enough to bruise, hard enough to keep the contact. Blood welled on Harry's fingertip, bright and real. Harry sobbed, face crumpling. "Ow!" "Oh, I know," Arcturus said. His voice did not soften, but it dropped lower, like he was talking through the storm instead of over it. "Breathe." Harry's breathing was a mess. His chest hitched. His nose ran. Arcturus turned Harry's finger slightly and let one drop of blood fall onto the carved line nearest the center of the plate. The blood touched stone and vanished. Harry froze mid-sob. The cold under his palm changed. It warmed just a little, like the stone had a heartbeat. Then the carved lines lit up, not bright like a lantern, but deep, like embers waking under ash. Creature sucked in a breath. From somewhere in the walls, a whisper rose, multiple voices layered together.
Old mean.
Curious. "Blood," one of them hissed. "Not ours," another sneered. "Potter stink," someone else muttered. Harry's eyes went huge. He tried to pull back again, but the stone plate seemed to hold him now, not physically, but with a pressure that made his skin prickle. Arcturus's ring hand hovered over the plate. He traced the air above the glowing lines, slow and precise. "I Arcturus Black," he said. Voice carrying in the room like it was meant for things that lived in stone, invoke the registry of this house. "I call the old law. I call the wards that remember who fed them blood when the ministry was a puddle." Creature bowed his head so low his forehead nearly touched the floor. He looked like he was praying and sulking at the same time. Harry's crying turned into shaky little gasps. The blood on his finger stopped hurting because now he was scared in a bigger way. Arcturus looked down at Harry. "Say your name," he said. Harry blinked. His lips trembled. "Harry." "Full," Arcturus said. Harry swallowed and forced it out. "Harry Potter." The embers in the stone flared. The pressure in the room deepened. Arcturus's jaw tightened. Again. Harry's voice cracked. "Harry Potter." The whispers in the walls turned into a low, hungry murmur. Arcturus's ring hand tapped the air once, like he was striking a bell no one else could see. "And by my blood," he said, "by the last standing name of House Black, I claim guardianship. I claim responsibility. I claim right." Harry didn't understand any of it, but he understood the rhythm. It sounded like grown-up words that made things happen. The stone under his palm burned cold, then warm, then cold again. His scar, the one no one talked about in that house on Privet Drive, suddenly stung like someone pressed a hot fingertip to it. Harry yelped and squeezed his eyes shut. His free hand flew to his forehead. Arcturus went still. His eyes sharpened like he'd just felt it too. The carved lines on the plate twisted. Not physically moving, but the glow crawled along new paths, as if the stone was choosing different routes. A second symbol lit up on the far edge of the plate. Creature lifted his head slowly, eyes narrowing. "That is not black," he whispered. Arcturus stared at the second glow. "No," he said. "That is Potter." Harry's scar pulsed again. He whimpered, fingers digging into his forehead. Arcturus's expression did not change much, but something in his eyes did. Focus. Calculation. A faint edge of satisfaction that he tried to bury. "The house recognizes proximity," Arcturus said, mostly to himself. "Marriage ties. Old blood roots." The whispers in the walls got louder. "Potter," one voice spat. "Filthy," another said. "But strong," someone else added, grudging. Harry's palm stuck to the plate like glue. He tried to lift it and could not. Arcturus leaned closer and spoke into the stone, voice sharp as a command. "He is mine." The room went silent for one heavy beat. Then the embers flared so bright Harry cried out again, but this time it was not pain. It was shock. The glow surged up through the carved lines and into Arcturus's ring, making the black metal shine like it was lit from inside. Harry's palm released. He jerked his hand back so fast he almost fell off the stool. Arcturus caught him by the shoulder, steadying him. Harry clutched his bleeding finger to his chest and sobbed, whole body shaking. Creature scrambled forward, hands fluttering like he didn't know whether to comfort or scold. "Master is claimed," he rasped, voice too loud for the room. The house heard. The house heard. Arcturus's gaze stayed on the plate. The second symbol, the one that had lit for Potter, remained faintly glowing, like an ember refusing to die. "That," Arcturus said quietly, "is going to make this mess louder." Creature's face twisted. "Potter blood in black registry," he muttered. "Other houses will sniff. Ministry will sniff. Dumbledore will sniff." Arcturus turned his head, his eyes pinned Creature. "And that is why we move before they do." Harry sniffed hard. "My finger," he mumbled, voice thick. Arcturus looked down at him. For a second, he seemed to notice Harry as a person again, not a piece of law. He reached to the tray, picked up a small cloth, and wrapped Harry's finger with quick, practiced movements. The cloth was cool and smelled faintly like herbs. Harry stared at Arcturus's hands. They were old hands. Veins stood out. The fingers were steady anyway. "Hurts," Harry whispered. "Yes," Arcturus said. Then, after a beat, "It will stop." Harry swallowed. He stared at the stone plate again, like it might reach out and grab him. Arcturus set his cane against the altar stand and straightened. "Creature." Creature snapped to attention. "Master." "Bring the concealment cloak," Arcturus said. "And the signet chain." Creature blinked. "The chain is old. The chain bites." "Then he will learn," Arcturus said. Harry's face tightened at the word bites. Creature vanished with a crack. Arcturus crouched so his face was level with Harry's. It was still too close. Harry leaned back instinctively. "You did well," Arcturus said. Harry blinked. He didn't know what to do with that. Arcturus's eyes flicked to Harry's forehead. "Your scar reacted," he said. "It means someone tied you to more than one system." Harry's lips parted. "Scar." Arcturus tapped his own forehead once, a small gesture. "Lighter," he said. "Not now." Harry's stomach growled again, loud enough that it filled the silence. Creature reappeared holding a thick cloak that looked like it had never seen sunlight. In his other hand was a chain, dark silver, with a flat ring pendant stamped with the black crest. Harry eyed the chain like it was a snake. Creature stepped forward. "Master puts chain," he said, voice almost smug. "Chain says hair. Chain hides hair. Chain burns thieves." Harry's eyes went wider. "Burn." "It does not burn you," Arcturus said. "If it burns, you are not you." "That is the point." Harry did not like that answer. His chin trembled. Arcturus took the chain from Creature and held it up. "Look at me," he told Harry. Harry looked, eyes wet. Arcturus's voice dropped lower. "This is not a punishment," he said. "This is armor. People who smile at children are not always safe." Harry sniffed. "You smile." Arcturus's mouth tightened. "No." Harry stared at him a second, then gave a tiny, broken laugh that came out like a hiccup. It surprised him too. He wiped at his face with his sleeve. Arcturus slid the chain over Harry's head and settled the pendant against his chest, under the collar of his shirt. The metal felt cold on Harry's skin. He flinched, expecting pain. Nothing happened. Creature watched like he was judging the chain's behavior. "It accepts," he muttered, sounding annoyed that it had. Arcturus draped the cloak around Harry's small shoulders. The fabric swallowed him. Harry's face disappeared for a second, and he panicked, hands clawing at it. Arcturus tugged the hood back so Harry could breathe. "Not over your face," Arcturus said, irritation flickering. "You are not a parcel." Harry's cheeks flushed. He clutched the cloak's edge like it was a blanket. Arcturus picked up his cane again. "We'll go to Gringotts," he said. Harry frowned. "We're..." A place that records truth when wizards lie, Arcturus replied. Creature shuddered. Goblins, he hissed. Arcturus's eyes cut to him. You will stay, he said. Lock the house, no visitors. No portraits screaming down the hall unless I permit it. From somewhere above, a portrait voice snarled, offended. I will scream whenever I like. Arcturus didn't even look up. And I will burn your frame. Silence followed, immediate. Harry stared at the ceiling like he expected the voice to fall down. Arcturus's hand settled on Harry's shoulder. Not a hug, just a steady anchor. Stay close, he said. Harry nodded, small and fast. The next moment felt like stepping off a cliff. The air pressed in. The room lurched. Harry's stomach climbed into his throat. He grabbed Arcturus's sleeve with both hands, nails digging through fabric. Then the pressure released, and they were somewhere else. Harry blinked hard. The air smelled different, cold iron, old stone, a faint tang like coins that had been touched by too many hands. They stood in a narrow side corridor that opened into a vast hall. Torches burned high on the walls, their flames too steady to be normal. The floor shone like polished rock. Everything felt angled, built for people who liked tunnels more than windows. Arcturus adjusted the cloak so it hung properly. He looked down at Harry. Do not speak unless I tell you, he said. Harry's eyes darted around. Scary, he whispered. Yes, Arcturus replied. Good. They stepped into the main hall. Goblins moved behind counters like they owned the air the way Arcturus did. Small, sharp faces. Clever eyes. Fingers that looked built for knives and quills. They barely glanced at witches and wizards in the queue, but Harry felt their attention like insects crawling over his skin. Arcturus moved to the front without asking permission. People started to protest, then stopped when they saw his ring and the way he carried himself like the building belonged to him too. A goblin at the central desk looked up, eyes narrowing. Lord Black, the goblin said. His voice was polite the way a blade was polite. Griffook, Arcturus replied. No greeting, no warmth. Harry looked at the goblin and then buried his face in the cloak for half a second before peeking again. Griffook's gaze flicked to the cloak. You bring concealed property into Gringotts, he said. Arcturus's smile did not exist, but something like amusement touched his eyes. I bring a client, he said. And I bring coin. Griffook's nostrils flared. Coin is relevant. Arcturus set a small leather pouch on the counter. It clinked softly. Griffook did not reach for it yet. He leaned forward, eyes sharp. What do you want recorded? Blood verification, Arcturus said. 2 lines, Potter and Black. Then I want contracts filed and sealed under goblin law. A murmur rippled among nearby goblins. Not shock, interest. Griffook's eyes narrowed further. The Potter line is not yours. It is his, Arcturus said, and the certainty in his voice made Harry's stomach twist. Griffook tilted his head. Show. Arcturus looked down at Harry. Come here, he said. Harry's legs felt stiff. He did not want to go to the counter. The goblin's eyes were too focused. Too hungry. Arcturus's hand closed around Harry's small shoulder and guided him forward. Stay close, he said again, voice like an order that could keep monsters away. Harry stepped up, cloak dragging on the floor. He put both hands on the counter edge to keep himself steady. The stone was cold. Griffook leaned down until his face was closer to Harry's. Harry shrank, instinctive, trying to hide behind his own shoulders. Ice, Griffook murmured, almost to himself. That scar, that smell. Harry's fingers clenched. Don't, he whispered, too quiet for anyone else. Arcturus's gaze cut. Do not speak to him like he is meat, Arcturus said. Griffook's mouth twitched. Wizards speak to goblins like we are furniture, he replied. Yet you object to a sniff. Arcturus did not move. Yes, that was it. Just yes, like he had decided it was worth the argument. Griffook stared at him for a long beat. Then he straightened slightly. Blood verification requires a sample, he said, and a fee. Arcturus nodded once. Name it. Griffook tapped a clawed finger on the counter. Double standard fee, he said. You are filing a child claim. That draws attention. And you request 2-line verifications. Arcturus reached into his cloak and pulled out another pouch, heavier. He set it down without hesitation. Griffook's eyes gleamed. He reached for the pouches at last and slid them toward himself. "We will proceed," he said. He snapped his fingers. A goblin clerk appeared, holding a small silver kit. Inside was a needle, a thin glass vial, and a quill with a black tip. Harry's stomach dropped. He shoved his bandaged finger behind his back. "No," Harry whispered. Arcturus's hand closed gently but firmly around Harry's wrist. "Not that finger," he said. "Another." Harry shook his head hard. Tears threatened, quick and hot. "It hurts." "Yes," Arcturus said, voice steady. Briefly. "And then it stops." Harry stared at him, breathing fast. His eyes searched Arcturus's face like he might find softness there. He found only truth. Harry's shoulders sagged. He held out his other hand, trembling. The goblin clerk pricked his finger quickly. Harry yelped, a small sharp sound, then bit down on the inside of his cheek like he was trying not to cry in front of strangers. Blood welled. The clerk touched the quill tip to the blood, then pressed the quill to a strip of parchment. The parchment drank the blood. Harry felt it, even though no one told him. It was like a string inside him got tugged. His scar prickled. The pendant under his shirt warmed. The parchment glowed faintly. A symbol formed in the blood, neat and sharp. Griffook leaned in. "Potter," he said. Harry's breath hitched. His eyes flicked to Arcturus like he needed confirmation. Arcturus nodded once. The parchment shifted again. The bloodlines crawled, forming a second symbol, darker, older, edged like a crest carved into a coffin lid. Griffook's eyebrows rose. "Black," he said, voice suddenly more careful. "Both." The goblin clerk hesitated, quill hovering. "That is unusual. Not impossible," Arcturus said. Griffook's gaze went sharp. "Explain." Arcturus did not lower his voice. He did not look around to see who listened. He spoke like secrecy was a choice, not a requirement. "Marriage ties," he said. "Old blood roots. Doria Black's line. The house registry accepted him." Griffook's eyes gleamed. "Accepted," he repeated. "You performed a rite?" "Less." Griffook smiled slightly. It was not friendly. It was satisfied. "That makes him politically explosive," he said. "Wizards will bite." Arcturus's eyes did not soften. "Let them break their teeth." Harry's stomach rolled. He did not know what political meant, but he knew bite. He knew teeth. The goblin clerk placed the parchment flat and poured a drop of something clear onto it. The glow deepened, then stabilized. "Verification recorded," the clerk said. Griffook's gaze stayed on Harry. "No contracts," he said. "What do you file?" "Adoption." "Hair claim." "Ward registry entry." "Whole," Arcturus said. Griffook's eyes narrowed, amused. "Greedy, prudent," Arcturus replied. Griffook snapped his fingers again. Another clerk appeared with a stack of parchments. This one had ink stains up his arms like tattoos. Arcturus lifted Harry onto his hip, one arm supporting him. Harry clung to Arcturus's cloak, face buried for a second to stop himself shaking. The clerk laid out parchment. "Name of child," he said. "Harry James Potter." Arcturus answered. Harry blinked at the middle name, James. He did not remember anyone calling him that. "Existing guardians," the clerk said, quill ready. Arcturus's jaw tightened. "None that matter." The clerk paused, then continued. "Contract type," he said. "Blood adoption under Black registry," Arcturus said. "And hair claim under House Black." The clerk's quill moved fast, scratching. Harry stared at the quill tip. It looked like it could stab. Griffook watched, eyes hooded. "Ministry will contest," he said. "Dumbledore will posture. They will claim the child is placed by prophecy necessity." Arcturus's laugh was quiet and sharp. "Let them," he said. "They will not seize him if Goblin law records him as claimed." Griffook's gaze flicked to the pendant hidden under Harry's shirt. "Unless they try anyway," he said. "Wizards break laws with smiles." Harry's throat tightened. He remembered smiles. Petunia smiled in front of neighbors. Then the cupboard door closed. Arcturus looked down at Harry as if he could read the thought. "If someone offers you kindness in public," he said, voice low enough that only Harry would catch the words, "ask what they need from you in private." Harry blinked. The sentence felt heavy. He did not fully understand it, but it stuck anyway, like a pebble in a pocket. The clerk finished the first parchment and slid it forward. "Blood mark," he said, and held out the quill. Harry stiffened. He did not want more blood. Arcturus took the quill instead. He pricked his own finger without flinching and let a drop of his blood touch the bottom of the parchment. Harry stared. "You did it." Arcturus's eyes flicked to him. "Yes," he said, like the answer was obvious. "This is my claim. I pay the cost." The parchment drank Arcturus's blood. The ink lines darkened. The crest at the top of the page flared faintly, then settled. The clerk nodded. Guardian blood acknowledged. The second parchment came. Then the third. Harry's head started to swim from the smell of ink and stone and the pressure of so many eyes. Griffook leaned closer during the hair claim filing. "If you name him heir," he said, "you also name him target." Arcturus did not even blink. "He is already target," he said. "Now he is armed." Griffook's smile sharpened. "You speak like a goblin," he said. Arcturus's gaze held his. "I speak like a man who refuses to lose," he replied. The final parchment was different. The clerk set down a thick sheet with older seal marks pressed into the corners. The ink smelled older, like it had been waiting. "Ward registry entry," the clerk said. "Predates ministry. This is old." Arcturus's ring hand hovered over it. "Good," he said. The clerk dipped the quill, then stopped. "The registry requires a resonance," he said. "A touch of the house itself." Arcturus's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Griffook answered instead, voice calm. "House wards are not just spells. They are systems," he said. "They remember the core. Goblin registry will record what the house recognizes." Arcturus's jaw worked once. "And how do we provide that here?" Griffook gestured to a small basin set into the counter, hidden behind a privacy screen. "We use ward stone," he said. "Drop of blood. Touch of claim pendant." The registry listens. Harry's stomach twisted again. Arcturus carried him behind the screen. The bustle of the main hall dulled, but Harry could still feel the stairs. He clung tighter to Arcturus's cloak. Griffook stepped behind the screen as well, keeping his distance. Two goblin guards stood on the other side of the screen, faces hard, hands near their blades. They were not there for Arcturus. They were there for anything that tried to interrupt goblin business. The basin was carved from dark stone. Its surface shimmered faintly, like there was water there even when it was empty. Arcturus pulled the pendant out from under Harry's shirt. The black crest caught the torchlight and looked like it wanted to bite. Harry's breath hitched. "Cold," he mumbled. "It will warm," Arcturus said, and slid the pendant down so it rested against the basin edge. He pricked Harry's finger again. The smallest prick, still enough to make Harry flinch and whine. Blood touched the stone. The basin shimmered. Harry's scar stung, and he gasped, hand flying to his forehead again. Arcturus's eyes narrowed hard. The basin's shimmer rose into a thin column of pale light. For a second, it formed the black crest in the air, clean and sharp. Then it flickered. A second crest flashed through it, quick as a blink. Not black. A simpler shape, like a ring inside a triangle. It vanished. But the air felt different afterward, like something had been acknowledged that no one expected. Griffook's eyes widened slightly. "Potter resonance," he said, voice suddenly more serious. "Linked." Arcturus stared at the basin like he wanted to break it open and see the mechanism inside. "I already saw it in the right," he said. "Then this is confirmed on Goblin Registry," Griffook replied. "Both lines touch him. That makes him more than a child claim. It makes him a junction." Harry's head spun. Junction meant nothing. The word sounded like a place with trains. He just felt his scar sting and the pendant warm against his chest. The light column steadied. A thin line of glow sank back into the basin like water draining. The clerk's voice came from outside the screen. "Registry accepted," he called, sounding shaken despite himself. Arcturus exhaled once, controlled, and tucked the pendant back under Harry's shirt. Harry's body was trembling. He hated the sting. He hated the attention. He hated that everyone talked around him like he was a thing. Arcturus's hand rested on the back of Harry's head for a brief second, holding him steady. Not a caress. A restraint. A promise. "It is done," Arcturus said. Griffook's gaze stayed sharp. "For now," he said. They returned to the counter. The clerks sealed parchments with wax and a goblin stamp that looked like a bite mark pressed into the world. Arcturus took the documents and slid them into a leather folio that disappeared into his cloak. Griffook leaned forward, lowering his voice. "You should leave through the side exit," he said. "There is a tension in the hall." Arcturus's eyes flicked over Griffook's shoulder. He did not turn his head, but Harry saw the slight shift. The way Arcturus's posture tightened like a dog hearing a noise no one else caught. "You know more than you are saying," Arcturus said. Griffook's mouth twitched. "Goblins see patterns," he replied. "Wizards call it paranoia." Arcturus nodded once. "Side exit," he said. Griffook gestured. "Follow the corridor left of the third vault door," he said. No talking. No stopping. Arcturus adjusted the cloak around Harry again, hiding his small shape. Harry's finger still hurt, and now his scar pulsed like it remembered being touched. They moved. The corridor was narrower than the main hall, lit by fewer torches. The stone underfoot was slick in places, worn down by countless feet. Harry clutched Arcturus's cloak with both hands, face buried, trying to make himself invisible. Arcturus's cane tapped softly on stone, a measured rhythm. Not the same tapping as last night. This was purposeful, a signal to himself. Harry listened anyway. They reached a heavy door set into the rock. Arcturus pressed his ring to it. The door clicked and swung inward. Cold air rushed in. They stepped into a back alley that smelled like damp brick and old rubbish. The sky above was a thin strip, gray and mean. London noise filtered through distant streets, muffled but present. Arcturus paused at the alley mouth. His head turned slightly, eyes scanning the street beyond. Harry felt it too. That pressure in the air, like something weighted. Arcturus moved out first, cloak pulling Harry with him. The street beyond was not crowded, but there were people. A witch hurrying with a sack of flour. A wizard arguing with a shopkeeper. Two kids tugging at their mother's sleeve whining. Nothing looked wrong. That was what made Harry's stomach twist harder. Arcturus walked, cane tapping, cloak concealing. Harry's cheek pressed against Arcturus's chest. He could hear Arcturus's heartbeat. Slow, controlled. Then the air snapped. A curse flashed from a doorway across the street, silent and fast, aimed at Arcturus's head. Arcturus moved without wasting a breath. He twisted, shifting his shoulder so the curse hit the edge of an invisible shield instead of his face. The shield sparked, a burst of pale blue light that made the street turn and stare. Harry yelped, face buried tighter. Arcturus spun, one hand holding Harry close, the other snapping his wand free from inside his cane. The tip gleamed, darkwood polished smooth. "Move." Arcturus barked, voice loud enough to cut through the street. People stumbled back, shouting. A second curse fired, this one low, aimed at Arcturus's legs. Arcturus flicked his wand. The curse slammed into a conjured wall of black stone that erupted from the ground in front of them, a sudden barrier that made dust explode into the air. Harry coughed, choking on grit. His eyes stung. Arcturus pressed Harry down behind the stone wall, keeping his body between Harry and the street. "Do not move," he said, voice hard in Harry's ear. Harry shook so hard his teeth clicked. "Scared," he whispered. "Yes," Arcturus snapped. Then, quieter, "Stay." Footsteps pounded on stone. 3 figures moved through the dust. No masks, no robes with skulls. They wore plain dark coats, hoods up, faces half hidden. They moved like they had practiced this, like they were paid to be clean. One raised a wand and fired again, a red bolt this time, sharp and angry. Arcturus flicked his wand. The red bolt hit a shimmering shield and burst into sparks that rained down like angry fireflies. "Professional," Arcturus said, voice flat. Not impressed, angry. A 4th figure stepped from a shop doorway, wand already up. Arcturus's eyes snapped to him. His wand moved so fast Harry barely saw the motion. A chain of black light shot out and wrapped around the 4th man's wrist. The man yelped as the chain tightened, twisting his arm, forcing his wand to clatter onto the street. Arcturus lifted his wand again. The chain yanked hard, dragging the man across the stone like a sack. The man slammed into the base of a lamp post with a crack that made Harry flinch. Harry's stomach rolled. He tasted bile. Arcturus did not glance back at him. He stepped out from behind the stone wall, cloak flaring, still keeping Harry tucked against his side. Two of the attackers repositioned. One angled to the left, trying to get a clear line past the stone. The other went right, aiming for a wider shot. They wanted to bracket him, corner him. Arcturus's mouth tightened. "No," he said, like he was correcting a child. He slammed the tip of his wand into the ground. The stone street rippled. A thin ring of carved light flared around Arcturus's feet, racing outward in a perfect circle. The air hummed. The ring hit the attackers like a wave. One attacker stumbled, knees buckling as if the ground turned to syrup under him. The other jerked mid-step, arms flailing, suddenly unable to find balance. Harry felt the ring pass under him like a vibration in his bones. His scar burned sharp. He whimpered, clutching his forehead with one hand and Arcturus's cloak with the other. Arcturus's eyes narrowed at Harry's reaction, but he did not stop. He lifted his wand and fired two quick spells. The first snapped into the attacker on the left, binding ropes slamming around his chest and arms. The second hit the attacker on the right, wrapping his legs, yanking him hard into a fall. Both hit the ground with ugly, breathless thuds. The remaining attacker, the one who fired first, hissed and threw a curse that sliced the air like a blade. Arcturus raised his wand, and the shield took it, but the impact shoved Arcturus back a step. Harry's head bumped Arcturus's chest. His breath punched out of him. Arcturus's grip tightened around Harry's waist, holding him secure. "Nuff," Arcturus said, voice low and lethal. He flicked his wand, and a burst of white light hit the attacker's wand hand. The attacker screamed. His fingers spasmed. His wand dropped. Arcturus did not pause. He followed with a second spell, a heavy one that slammed into the attacker's chest and knocked him backward into the shopfront. Glass shattered. The man crashed into broken wood and sank to the ground, coughing hard. People screamed and ran now, scattering down the street. A shopkeeper shouted for someone to call Aurors. Someone shouted Harry's name, but it was distant, confused, not sure. Arcturus stepped forward, wand trained on the fallen attackers. He moved like he had done this before. No flourish. No extra motion. Just the shortest path to control. The attacker, dragged by the chain, tried to crawl away, one hand clutching his ribs. Arcturus yanked the chain tighter and hauled him back, dragging him across stone until he was at Arcturus's feet. The man spat blood. His eyes were wide, panicked. "We were told," he rasped. "We were told it was a snatch and drop." "Quick." Arcturus crouched, still holding Harry close, his cloak shielding most of Harry's face. "Who told you?" Arcturus said. The man coughed, blood wet on his lips. "Doesn't matter," he choked out. "You think you can file papers and call it done. Ministry does not let go." Arcturus's eyes went hard. "Name," he demanded. The man's gaze flicked to the cloak. He saw something under it. Small hands. A child's trembling, his face twisted. For one beat, he looked sick. Then he tried to push that away and forced himself to glare at Arcturus. "Light is not what you think," he rasped. "They smile, they do it clean, and they call it mercy." Harry's stomach turned. He swallowed, throat tight. Arcturus's wand, tip pressed close to the man's throat. "Name," he repeated. The man's breathing hitched. His eyes darted, like he was deciding whether fear of Arcturus was worse than fear of whoever sent him. Harry shook, scar burning, finger throbbing, head spinning. He clung to Arcturus and tried to breathe the way Arcturus said. In, out. It did not help much. The man swallowed hard. "I didn't see his face," he rasped. But the seal on the order was clear. Arcturus's eyes narrowed. What seal? The attacker's mouth trembled. He coughed, blood spotting the stone. "Crouch," he whispered. The name hit the air like a slap. Arcturus went still, all movement freezing for one sharp moment. Even the dust seemed to pause. Harry blinked up from inside the cloak, confused. "Frouch," he echoed, voice small. The attacker's eyes rolled back, and his head slumped forward as his body went limp in the chain. The seal that should not exist, the alley smelled like broken glass and damp brick. Arcturus did not look back at the street. He did not look at the people running. He kept his body angled so the cloak hid Harry, and his wand stayed up, steady, like a promise. Harry shook against him, silent now, because his throat hurt from the crying. His scar still burned, a dull sting that pulsed every time Arcturus's heartbeat thumped under his cheek. Arcturus leaned close to the bound attacker on the ground. The man's breath rattled, and blood shone on his lips. His eyes kept darting to the cloak, like the child's shape under it made him feel worse than the wand did. "You said crouch," Arcturus said. The man coughed. "It was the seal." "You saw a seal," Arcturus corrected. "That is not the same thing." The man swallowed hard. "It was clean. Raised stamp. Old style, not the modern ink. Department grade." Arcturus's gaze flicked to the man's hands. The fingers were cramped from the binding spell, knuckles pale. A professional still had tells. The way his wrist twitched, the way his eyes did not beg. He was waiting for something. Arcturus's voice dropped. "If this is a frame job, you will tell me now, and you will live long enough to regret it." The man's jaw clenched. "You think I would risk that name if it was a guess?" Harry's stomach rolled. He tasted bile again and pressed his face harder into the cloak, trying not to throw up. Arcturus felt the movement. His hand tightened on Harry's back, a firm brace. He did not soften his voice, but he angled his body so Harry's view was blocked. "Who hired you?" Arcturus said. The man coughed again, and the sound had a laugh buried inside it. "Not who." "What?" Arcturus did not blink. "Say it." The man's eyes flicked sideways, like he expected someone to be listening from the stones. He rasped, "A clean one. No masks, no slogans." He spoke like a clerk, not like a fanatic. "Paid in advance. Told us the child would be concealed, and you would be alone." Arcturus's mouth tightened. "And he expected you to win." The man's lips pulled back in something bitter. "He expected you to be old." Arcturus's wand tip shifted closer. "Name the handler." The man swallowed. His throat bobbed. "I cannot." Arcturus's voice turned colder. "You can." The man's gaze slid to the alley mouth again. He licked blood from his lip like he was buying time. "If I say it, I die. If I do not, I might get a trial. Ministry likes trials. Public shows. They like to pretend they are civilized while they cut." Arcturus watched him for a long beat. Then he made a decision. He lifted his wand and tapped it once, not on the man, but on the stone beside him. A thin line of light drew itself on the ground, a clean circle. The man's eyes widened as he recognized it. "No. You will not die quickly," Arcturus said. "That is mercy compared to what you earned." Harry's breath hitched. He did not understand the spell, but he understood the tone. He started to whimper. Arcturus did not look down. He spoke to Harry anyway, voice low. "Close your eyes." Harry squeezed them shut. His lashes stuck to his cheeks. Arcturus spoke a phrase under his breath. The air inside the circle thickened. The attacker choked, a sharp sound, like the words pressed on his lungs. Arcturus stepped closer. "Name," he said. The man's voice came out thin. "Fine. Fine." He called himself Weatherby. Arcturus's eyes narrowed. "That is a name for paper." "It is a paper man," the attacker rasped. "He wears the ministry like skin. He says yes, and doors open." Arcturus held the pressure. "Who does he answer to?" The man gagged, eyes watering. He shook his head, but his mouth moved anyway, forced by fear and the spell. Someone above him. Someone who does not show his face. Someone who speaks through seals. Arcturus's expression did not change, but his voice sharpened. "Whose seal?" The man's breath hitched. "Frouch." Arcturus released the circle. The attacker collapsed forward, coughing hard, shaking. He clawed at the bindings like they were rope. Harry opened his eyes a crack. He saw the man on the ground and flinched. Arcturus turned away from the attacker as if he was already done with him. He scanned the street again. The first distant wail of someone calling for help echoed from a side lane. Horrors would come. Someone would talk. Someone would make it sound tidy. Arcturus pressed his wand to his cane and slid it back into place like it belonged there. He shifted Harry higher on his hip. "Hold," he said. Harry clung to the cloak and nodded, face pale. Arcturus glanced down at the bound men. All 4 of them, 2 groaned. One lay too still, chest moving shallow. The first one, the one who said Weatherby, stared at Arcturus with hate and fear mixed together. Arcturus pointed his cane wand at their wrists and spoke a short phrase. The bindings changed. They did not loosen. They tightened into something that looked like thin black bands. They sank into skin without breaking it, like ink going under a page. The attacker cursed, sharp and filthy. "You cannot do that." "I can," Arcturus said. "And you will not apparate. You will not bite off your tongue to avoid questions. You will live until I decide you have earned a different ending." Harry's eyes went wide at the words, "bite off your tongue." He pressed his mouth shut hard and swallowed. Arcturus stepped back into the alley and pulled the air open the same way he did last night. The fold appeared, a dark mouth against brick. He turned once, looking at the street again, measuring the distance to the first corner. Then he walked through. The world tilted, but this time Harry did not scream. He just clutched tighter and squeezed his eyes shut until his stomach stopped trying to climb out of him. When he opened them, they were in the dark corridor again, and the old house smell rushed in. Creature was waiting in the hallway, like he had been carved out of shadow. His eyes were bright and sharp. He saw Harry's pale face and sniffed, offended. "Outside stink," Creature muttered. "Outside blood." Then he saw the 4 bound men dragged behind Arcturus by nothing visible, their bodies jerking as invisible force hauled them across the floor. Creature's lips peeled back. Oh yes!" Arcturus did not look at him. "Lock the house," he said. "Silence the portraits." A portrait voice from the wall tried to rise, excited. "Visitors. Visitors. Blood on the carpet." Arcturus lifted his cane and tapped the frame once. The portrait went dark. The mouth froze mid-word. Creature gave a satisfied nod. "Master is angry. House likes master angry." Arcturus carried Harry down the hall. The floorboards creaked like they remembered his weight. The house felt watchful, but it was not hostile to him. It leaned toward him like an old beast recognizing its handler. Harry watched the dark frames, the shapes behind the glass. A pair of painted eyes followed him. He shrank closer into the cloak. Arcturus stopped at a door near the back of the hall. This door was different. The wood was darker, the handle older. There were faint scratches around the lock, like something had tried to get in for years. Creature's ears twitched. "No," he said quickly. "Not the room. Not that room." Arcturus's gaze cut sideways. "You do not give orders." Creature's mouth pinched. "The room bites." He hissed. "The room drinks. It is not for child." Arcturus looked down at Harry. Harry was staring at the door now, drawn by the heavy feeling coming off it. His scar prickled. He lifted a hand toward his forehead, fingers trembling. Arcturus saw it. He took a slow breath. "Not yet," he said, more to himself than to anyone. He turned away from the door and moved toward the dining room instead. The long table sat under dust and shadow. The chairs looked like they had not hosted warmth in decades. A fireplace loomed at one end, cold. Arcturus lowered Harry into a chair with cushions stacked under him so he could see the tabletop. Harry's legs swung. He clutched the cloak edge and stared at Arcturus like he expected the world to snap again. Arcturus set his cane against the wall. He rolled his shoulders once, a small motion that looked like he was shedding a coat of violence. "Creature," he said. Creature popped to attention. "Master." "Food?" Arcturus said. "Water and a basin." "Clean." Creature vanished with a crack and reappeared almost instantly with a plate of bread and stew that smelled real, not like scraps. A cup of water thumped down beside it. Then a basin appeared, along with a cloth. Harry stared at the food like it was a trick. Arcturus sat across from him, posture straight. "Eat," he said. Harry hesitated, then reached for the bread with both hands. His fingers still stung, but hunger overruled it. He tore a piece and shoved it into his mouth, chewing fast. Creature clicked his tongue. "Slow," he snapped. "Choke and you make mess." Harry chewed slower, face scrunched in concentration. The stew was warm. His body started to stop shaking. Arcturus watched him eat like he was watching a gauge settle. When Harry had swallowed enough to breathe without the tight panic, Arcturus spoke again. "Creature," he said. Creature leaned in eager. "Master, bring the man who spoke," Arcturus said. "Bring him alone." Creature's grin looked like a knife. He snapped his fingers. The attacker appeared on the floor beside the table with a crack, landing hard on his side. He groaned and tried to push up. The black bands on his wrists flashed faintly. Harry jolted, spoon halfway to his mouth. His eyes went huge. Arcturus's voice cut through. "Eat," he told Harry, steady. "Do not look away from your food. You will learn to sit in the same room as threats. If you cannot, you will spend your life running." Harry's throat tightened. He did not like it, but he obeyed. He stared at his bowl and forced another bite down. The attacker lifted his head and saw Harry. For one beat, his face shifted, something like shame, then it hardened back into anger. "You brought him here," the attacker rasped. Arcturus leaned forward slightly. "Wes! You think this makes you noble," the attacker said, voice rough. "Parading a child. Making him watch." Arcturus's eyes went cold. "You tried to kill me with him in my arms?" he said. "Do not perform morality now." The attacker's mouth twisted. He coughed. "Who the hell are you to talk about morality?" Arcturus did not answer that. He let the silence do the work. Creature hovered behind the attacker, hands clasped, looking pleased like he was watching a play. Arcturus's gaze stayed on the attacker. "Weatherby," he said. "Describe him." The attacker swallowed. "Medium height. Brown hair. Clean nails. Speaks like he reads from forms even when he is threatening you. Smells like ink." Arcturus nodded once. "Where?" The attacker hesitated. Creature leaned closer and whispered, too loud. "Creature can pull fingers off one by one. Creature knows how." Harry's spoon clinked against the bowl. He froze, food in his mouth. Arcturus's gaze snapped to Creature. "Enough." Creature's ears drooped, offended. He muttered under his breath and backed away. Arcturus looked at the attacker again. "Where?" he repeated. The attacker licked his lips. "Ministry. Lower levels, not the public offices. The ones behind the doors that require 3 signatures." Arcturus's voice stayed calm. "Who else was there?" The attacker's eyes darted. "No one. That is the point. No witnesses, no names. Just a seal pressed into wax and a contract line." Arcturus's fingers tapped the table once. "Show me the seal." The attacker barked a laugh. "You think I carried it around like a souvenir? It was on the order sheet. It was on the money pouch receipt. It was on the threat." Arcturus's eyes narrowed. "On the money?" The attacker swallowed. "A pouch came with the first payment. Plain leather. No marking. But the receipt slip inside had the seal at the bottom." Arcturus leaned back slightly. "You kept the slip." The attacker's mouth tightened. Creature made a small sound, pleased again. "Stupid man kept paper." The attacker glared at Creature. "I kept it because I am not an idiot. People who use seals like that do not like loose ends. If I needed leverage, I would have it." Arcturus's gaze stayed steady. "Where is it?" The attacker's jaw clenched. "Not on me." Arcturus nodded once. "Of course not." He looked toward the kitchen door. "Creature. Search him. Search his pockets, his boots, his mouth." Creature perked up. "Oh yes." The attacker tensed. "Touch me and I will bite." Creature grinned wider. Creature bites back. Before the attacker could react, Creature vanished and reappeared behind him, hands already moving fast. Creature's fingers were thin but strong. He patted and yanked with zero respect. The attacker swore, twisting, but the black bands held him like iron. Creature pulled out a small folded paper from inside the attacker's boot, tucked under the sole. He held it up like a trophy. "Paper," Creature said. "Smug." Creature finds paper. Arcturus held out his hand. "Give it." Creature placed it in his palm with exaggerated care. Harry's chewing slowed. He could not stop listening now, even though Arcturus told him to focus on food. His eyes flicked up, then back down, torn between fear and wanting to understand. Arcturus unfolded the slip. It was a receipt stub, thin parchment, with cramped numbers and a simple line, "Payment issued." Under it was a faint imprint, like someone pressed a seal hard enough to leave the ghost. Arcturus's eyes narrowed. He tilted the paper to the light. The ghost mark showed a crest shape. Even faint, it carried weight. Arcturus stared at it for a long beat. Then he lifted his gaze to the attacker. "This is not Crouch," he said quietly. The attacker blinked. "What?" Arcturus's voice stayed low. "This is not the department crest. This is private." He flipped the slip toward Creature. "Bring me charcoal." Now, Creature vanished. The attacker's eyes widened, panic creeping back in. "It is his. It is his seal." Arcturus looked at him with flat contempt. "You do not know what you saw," he said. Creature returned with a stick of charcoal and a cloth. Arcturus placed the slip on the table, covered it with the cloth, and rubbed charcoal across it, slow and controlled. The ghost mark darkened. A crest emerged. Not the ministry, not the department. A personal seal. A stag. Harry froze mid-swallow. He did not know what a stag was properly, not as a symbol, but he knew the shape. Antlers. A proud animal. He had seen it on a picture once, maybe on a book, maybe in a flash in his head when he slept. His scar prickled hard, like the symbol had touched it. Arcturus stared at the stag. His jaw tightened. The attacker stared too, confused. "That is not what I saw." "You saw what you were told to see," Arcturus said. Creature leaned in, eyes bright. "Stag belongs to Potter friend." He muttered, then corrected himself like the house slapped him for gossip. "Stag belongs to people who are dead." Arcturus's gaze lifted to Creature. "You know this seal?" Creature's ears twitched. "All days," he said quickly. "Order days. Phoenix days. The man who walked like he owned light. He used that stamp for letters, for meetings, for threats dressed as kindness." Harry's stomach turned. He swallowed hard. His fingers went to his forehead again. Arcturus noticed. He did not touch Harry, but his voice shifted slightly sharper with focus. "Eat," he repeated. "Keep your hands down." Harry forced them down to his lap and stared at his bowl, even though he did not want another bite. The attacker's breathing got fast. "That is not right," they said Crouch. They said ministry. Arcturus leaned forward, eyes cold. "You were used," he said. "And you were meant to carry the blame to someone else." The attacker's face twisted with rage. "Then who?" Arcturus looked at the stag again. "Someone who wants me chasing the ministry while he hides behind reputation." The attacker spat on the floor, furious. "Name him." Arcturus's gaze did not change. "Not yet." Creature made a sound like a laugh. "Master will eat him later." Arcturus ignored that. He looked back at the attacker. "Tell me about Weatherby," he said. Everything, how he spoke. What words he used. What he avoided. The attacker swallowed, then talked fast, like he feared silence now. "He did not say kill," he said. He said retrieve. He said return the child to proper custody. He said the old man will be upset if blood is spilled. He said do it clean and do not make noise. Arcturus's eyes narrowed. Old man. The attacker nodded quickly. He called him the old man. Like everyone knew who that meant. Creature hissed through his teeth. "Old man with beard." He muttered. "Old man who smiles." Harry's spoon slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the bowl. He flinched at the sound like he expected someone to hit him. Arcturus's gaze snapped to him. Harry's lower lip trembled. "No cupboard." He whispered, voice shaking. "No hit." Arcturus's eyes held on him for a long beat. Then he gave a single nod. "No cupboard," he said. "No hit." Harry's breathing eased a fraction. He grabbed the spoon again with a shaking hand. Arcturus turned back to the attacker. "Weatherby said return the child." "Return to who?" The attacker shook his head. He did not say. He said the child belongs to the light. He said the child belongs to the greater good. Creature spat the words like poison. "Greater good," he muttered. "That is the bearded one. That is his phrase." Arcturus's face went still. "Yes," he said. Harry did not understand the phrases, but he caught the way the room turned colder, like the house itself did not like the name forming in Arcturus's head. Arcturus stood. The attacker tensed. "What are you doing?" Arcturus's voice stayed calm. Deciding what to do with you. The attacker swallowed. Trial. You said trial. Arcturus looked down at him. I said you might, he replied. Do not confuse possibility with promise. The attacker's eyes widened. You cannot just keep us. Arcturus lifted his cane wand. I can keep you long enough to learn who is pulling strings, he said. Then I can hand you to the ministry with your mind intact, or I can remove the parts that lie. Harry's stomach clenched again. He took a bite of bread just to have something to do, chewing hard. Arcturus looked at Creature. Cellar, he said, deep. No windows, no portraits, no talking. Creature bowed, pleased. Yes, master. Creature snapped his fingers. The attacker vanished with a crack, along with the other bound men, pulled away like trash being dragged into a pit. The dining room went quiet again. Harry's chewing slowed. He stared at his bowl, then glanced up at Arcturus, eyes shiny. Arcturus sat back down. Slower this time. He picked up the charcoal-rubbed slip and folded it carefully, as if the paper was now a weapon. Harry swallowed. Bad men, he whispered. Arcturus's gaze stayed on the folded paper. Yes, he said. Harry's voice came small. Why they want me? Arcturus looked at him. For a moment he did not answer. He studied Harry's face like he was choosing how much truth a child could hold without breaking. Then he spoke. They want you because you are a symbol, Arcturus said. And because you are a key, Harry blinked. K. Arcturus tapped the table once with his finger. You have a scar, he said. You have blood connections that intersect old family systems. You have attention. People confuse attention for ownership. Harry's throat tightened. Ownership sounded like Dudley's toys. Dudley screamed when anyone touched them. Harry's eyes filled. I not toy. Arcturus's mouth tightened. No, he said. You are not. Harry stared at him, searching again for softness. Arcturus did not give comfort the way a normal guardian would, but he did not mock either. That mattered. Creature appeared by the door, quieter now. Master, he rasped. Aurors come near street. They sniff around. House wards hold. They cannot see. Arcturus nodded once. Good. Creature hesitated, then spoke like it cost him. Child shakes, he said. Child eats like starving rat. Creature hates muggles. Arcturus's gaze sharpened. Yes! Creature's ears drooped. Creature wants to punish. Arcturus's voice went flat. Your feelings are not the priority. Creature looked offended, then bowed anyway. Yes, master. Harry's eyes flicked to Creature. No punish me, he whispered, fear slipping out. Creature's face twisted. Punish muggles, he snapped. Not you. Not if you are masters. Arcturus's eyes cut to Creature. Do not call him master, he said. Creature froze. But he is Hare. Arcturus's voice stayed sharp. He is a child. Creature swallowed. Yes, master. Arcturus stood again. Creature. Bring the med kit. And bring the book from the locked cabinet. The one marked with the old crest. Creature vanished. Harry's fingers curled around his spoon. Book, he whispered. Arcturus nodded. We will examine your scar. Harry flinched. His hand flew toward his forehead, then stopped mid-air as he remembered Arcturus telling him to keep his hands down. His breathing sped up again. It hurt. Arcturus's eyes did not soften, but his voice did something else. It went slow. It went clear. It hurts because it is not just a mark, he said. It is something attached to you. You are not imagining it. Harry swallowed hard. Tears slid down his cheeks without sound. Arcturus watched him, then did the closest thing he had to reassurance. You will not be alone with it, he said. Harry stared, confused by the sentence, then clung to it anyway. Creature returned carrying a small case and a heavy book wrapped in cloth. He placed both on the table with care, then hovered like he expected fireworks. Arcturus unwrapped the book. The cover was worn black leather. A crest was pressed into it, faded but still proud. He opened it. The pages smelled like dust and smoke. The writing inside was cramped, angled old. Arcturus flipped through with practiced speed. His finger traced a line. His gaze sharpened. Harry watched, eyes wide. He did not know how to read the way adults did. He only knew the shapes looked serious. Arcturus stopped on a page and turned the book so it faced him fully. He reached into the med case and pulled out a small vial and a thin brush. Harry's stomach clenched. "No needle," he whispered. "No needle," Arcturus said. Harry's shoulders dropped a fraction. Arcturus dipped the brush into the vial and held it up to the light. The liquid looked clear, but it shimmered faintly like it remembered moonlight. He leaned toward Harry. "Hold still," he said. Harry froze, eyes locked on the brush. Arcturus brushed the liquid across Harry's forehead, right over the scar. Harry flinched. The liquid was cold. The scar burned for a heartbeat, then the burn changed into a tight pressure, like a hand pressing from inside. Harry whimpered. Arcturus's eyes narrowed, focused. He leaned closer, head tilted, watching. The scar lines darkened under the liquid. For a second, the shape looked deeper than skin, like it had layers. Harry's breath hitched. "Ow?" he whispered. Arcturus held the brush steady. "Look at me," he said. Harry looked, tears spilling. Arcturus watched his pupils, his breathing, the way his small hands curled into fists. "Tell me where it hurts," he said. Harry swallowed hard. "Here," he whispered, and pointed to the scar without touching it. Arcturus nodded. "Anything else?" Harry's mouth trembled. "Head feels like." He struggled, searching for words, like big hands squish. Arcturus's gaze sharpened. He looked back at the book, then at the scar again. Creature leaned in, voice low and eager. "Curse," he whispered. "Dark curse. Old." Arcturus did not take his eyes off Harry. "Quiet," he said, and Creature snapped his mouth shut. Arcturus spoke softly under his breath, not a comfort, but a test phrase. Harry gasped. The pressure in his head shifted, like something inside him reacted. Not pain, exactly. More like a twitch. Arcturus went still. His eyes moved to the book again. He flipped a page with one finger, never taking his other hand away from Harry's forehead. Harry's breathing got fast. His fingers dug into the table edge. Arcturus's voice dropped. "There is a second presence," he said. Harry blinked, tears dripping. "Presence." Arcturus looked at him. "Something," he clarified. Harry's lip trembled harder. "Inside." Arcturus did not lie. "Wes?" Harry made a broken sound. He shook his head fast. "No, no, no." Arcturus's hand closed around Harry's small wrist, not hurting, just anchoring. "Breathe," he said. "It cannot take you in this house. Not while I am awake." Harry's chest heaved. He tried to breathe. His eyes squeezed shut. The house creaked, low and angry, like it agreed. Creature whispered, unable to help himself. "House protects hair." Arcturus's gaze cut to him. "Not hair," he said again, sharp. "Shield." Creature bowed, chastised. Harry opened his eyes again. "Take it out," he whispered, voice raw. Arcturus stared at the scar, then looked at the book. His jaw tightened. "Not tonight," he said. Harry's face crumpled. He started to cry again, quiet this time, shoulders shaking. Arcturus's gaze stayed steady. "You are 3, he said. "Your body is small. Cutting blindly is how people kill what they claim to protect." Harry sobbed. "Hurt." Arcturus's voice stayed low. "I know." He closed the book with a soft thud. Then he did something Harry did not expect. He stood and moved around the table, and instead of grabbing Harry or yanking him, he crouched beside Harry's chair. He did not hug. He did not pat. He placed one hand flat on the table near Harry's bowl, palm down, like he was offering something steady without forcing touch. "You will sleep," Arcturus said. "You will eat. You will grow. Then we will remove it." Harry sniffed hard. "Promise." Arcturus's eyes held his. "I do not make promises lightly," he said. Harry's eyes searched his face, desperate. Arcturus exhaled once. Controlled. "You have my word," he said. Harry did not know the difference between promise and word, but he felt the weight anyway. His crying slowed to hiccups. Creature cleared his throat, a small sound. "Master," he rasped. "Messages arrive." A folded parchment appeared on the table with a crack, like the house spat it out. Wax seal, heavy. Arcturus's eyes flicked to it. He did not touch it right away. Harry stared at the seal, drawn to the red wax. His scar prickled again, faint. Arcturus picked up the parchment and turned it so the seal faced the firelight. The wax held a crest pressed into it. A stag. Arcturus's face went still in a way that made the room colder. Creature whispered, horrified and thrilled at once. Bearded one writes. Harry's breath caught. Arcturus's fingers tightened on the parchment until the wax creaked. He did not open it yet. He looked down at Harry, then toward the hallway, then back at the stag seal like it was an open threat. Eat, he told Harry again, voice tight now. Harry stared at the seal, then forced a bite into his mouth, chewing without tasting. Eyes fixed on Arcturus as Arcturus finally slid a nail under the wax and broke it clean. The letter with teeth, the wax broke with a soft crack, and the whole room felt colder. Arcturus did not tear the parchment open like a man in a hurry. He slid a nail under the fold, eased it apart, and lifted the page out like it might bite him if he got careless. The seal lay on the table, stag pressed deep into red wax, proud antlers and all. Harry sat stiff in his chair, spoon paused halfway up. His eyes kept flicking between the seal and Arcturus's face. The sting in his scar was back, not sharp, but steady, like a finger pressing on a bruise. Creature hovered behind Arcturus's shoulder, almost bouncing. Bearded one writes. He whispered again, like the words tasted good and foul at the same time. Arcturus's gaze stayed on the paper. Quiet. Creature's mouth snapped shut, but his eyes did not stop shining. Arcturus read the first line. His expression did not change, but Harry felt the shift anyway. The air around Arcturus tightened, the way it had before the fight in the alley. Harry's fingers curled around the spoon until his knuckles went pale. Arcturus read the next line, then the next. His eyes moved fast, too fast for Harry to follow. The fire popped once in the grate and the house creaked, low and watchful. Harry tried to swallow, but his throat felt too small. What? He whispered. Arcturus did not answer him yet. He kept reading. Creature leaned closer, unable to help himself. His nose twitched as if he could smell ink. Old man uses polite words, he muttered. Old man uses soft words. Then old man cuts. Arcturus finished the page. He held it still for a long beat, then lowered it to the table. He did not look at Harry. He stared at the stag seal, then at the handwriting, then back to the seal again like he was matching pieces that did not fit. Harry's scar pulsed once, harder, and he flinched, hand drifting toward his forehead before he stopped himself. He remembered the rule. Keep hands down. Keep breathing. Arcturus spoke at last. This is not Dumbledore, he said. Creature made a small choking sound. Lies, he hissed, scandalized. Shill as stag. Words smell like him. Arcturus lifted the parchment and held it closer to the firelight. Look, he said to Creature, voice calm in a way that meant he was furious underneath. Creature squinted, head tilting. He did not read, not like a wizard, but he could recognize marks, strokes, habits. His lips moved silently as he studied the lines. Harry watched them both. His stomach hurt again, not hunger now, but the bad twisty feeling that came when adults talked about him like he was a parcel with the wrong label. Creature's ears drooped by a fraction. Hand is wrong, he muttered, bitter. Too neat. Too young. Arcturus nodded once. Yes. Creature's voice turned sharp, but seal is stag. Arcturus's gaze cut to the broken wax. And that is the point, he said. Someone wants me thinking Potter. Someone wants me thinking Dumbledore. Someone wants me looking at the wrong door while they slip through another. Harry's spoon clinked softly as his hand trembled. He set it down before it fell. His eyes stung and he blinked hard, trying to be brave on purpose. Arcturus slid the parchment closer to the edge of the table. Creature, he said. Hold the seal in your hand. Creature recoiled. Creature will not touch stag filth. You will, Arcturus said, voice flat. Or you will be silent for a week. Creature looked horrified, then snatched the wax like it burned him and held it between two fingers, face twisted in disgust. Arcturus leaned closer, studying Creature's hand. Tell me what you feel. Creature's eyes narrowed. He swallowed. It hums, he said. Not like house. Not like black. It hums like something tied to a person. Like a leash. Arcturus's jaw tightened. A tracking charm, he said. Harry's breath hitched. Leash was a word he knew. Dudley had a toy dog on a string, and he liked dragging it across the floor until it scraped. Harry's scar stung again, and he made a small noise before he could stop it. Arcturus's head snapped toward him. His eyes locked on Harry's forehead. "It is reaching," he said quietly. Harry's lower lip trembled. "Take it off," he whispered, meaning the pain, meaning the thing inside him, meaning everything. Arcturus pushed back from the table and stood, fast enough that the chair legs scraped the floor. The sound made Harry flinch hard, shoulders jerking up. Arcturus did not apologize. He moved around the table and planted himself beside Harry's chair, body angled between Harry and the parchment. "Look at me," he said. Harry looked, eyes glossy. Arcturus's voice went slow and clear again. "Your scar reacts to targeted magic," he said. "This seal carries targeted magic. It is trying to confirm where you are." Harry swallowed. "Yes," Arcturus said. Creature made a furious hissing noise. "They sniff hair. They sniff house. Creature will bite their eyes out." Arcturus did not look at Creature. He stared at the parchment like it was an insult. "They will not find him," he said. "Not from this." He extended his hand toward the table, ring catching firelight. He did not touch the parchment directly. He held his palm just above it, fingers spread, like he was feeling heat off a stove. The air above the letter shimmered faintly. Creature's eyes widened. "Charm threads," he whispered. Arcturus's voice stayed calm. "Yes." Harry watched the shimmer, fascinated and terrified. It looked like thin spiderweb lines made out of light, reaching outward from the ink and the broken wax. Arcturus lifted his cane wand and tapped the table, once, right beside the parchment. The house answered. A deep, low vibration rolled through the room, like stone settling. The shimmer above the parchment tightened, then snapped inward, collapsing like a net being yanked shut. Harry's scar flared in pain, sharp as a slap. He cried out and curled in on himself, hands flying to his forehead. He could not stop this time. Tears spilled and his breath came in fast, ragged pulls. Arcturus's hand clamped gently but firmly around Harry's wrists, pulling them down, not to punish, to stop him scratching at the scar. "Breathe," Arcturus said, voice low in Harry's ear. "In, out. You are here. You are not alone." Harry tried hard. His whole body shook. "Hurt," he sobbed. "I know," Arcturus said. Creature stood rigid near the door, fingers curled like claws. "Let Creature kill them," he rasped. Arcturus did not answer that. He reached into the med kit with his free hand, grabbed the vial and brush again, and dabbed the cool liquid onto the scar. Harry gasped as the cold hit, then the burn dulled to a tight ache. He hiccuped, eyes squeezed shut. Arcturus kept his hand on Harry's wrists until the shaking slowed. He did not stroke. He did not hug, he anchored. When Harry finally cracked his eyes open, Arcturus looked back at the table. The parchment had gone dull. The shimmer threads were gone. The stag seal in Creature's fingers looked like plain wax now, dead and stupid. Arcturus exhaled once, controlled. Harry's voice came small. "What letter say?" Arcturus paused. He looked down at Harry, then back at the letter. His jaw worked once like he was deciding how much to give a child. "Someone is requesting your return," he said. Harry's eyes widened. "Return cupboard." "No," Arcturus said instantly. "Never." Harry's breath shook. "They take me." "They will try," Arcturus replied. Harry's mouth trembled. "You stop." Arcturus held his gaze. "Yes." Creature made a pleased sound, like the answer fed him. Arcturus picked up the parchment again, careful now that the charm was dead. "It is written as an invitation," he said. "It offers safety and stability, and all the words people like to hear. It also includes a demand for custody transfer." Creature spat on the floor. "Demand." Arcturus's eyes sharpened. "It also includes a false statement that your parents left you to the care of others," he added, "and that I am interfering with destiny." Harry did not know destiny. He understood leave. The word made his stomach hurt. "I not want leave," he whispered. Arcturus's voice stayed steady. "You will not be left again," he said. He looked at Creature. "Burn it." Creature's eyes lit up. He snatched the parchment with glee, then hesitated like the house itself demanded permission. "Master says burn," he asked, almost reverent. Arcturus nodded once. Creature vanished. Harry's breathing eased a fraction. He stared at Arcturus like he was trying to memorize the shape of him, like that would keep him safe. Arcturus reached for the bread plate and slid it closer to Harry. "Eat," he said. Harry took a bite because he did not know what else to do with fear. He chewed slowly, eyes still wet. Arcturus turned and walked to the window, pulling the curtain aside just enough to see the street. Outside was gray daylight, thin and mean. London noise was distant here, muffled by wards and old brick. Arcturus watched for a long beat. His face was still, but his mind was loud. Harry could feel it, even if he did not understand. The house creaked again, lower this time. Then the front door thudded. Not opened, not knocked politely. A heavy deliberate sound, like someone testing the wood. Harry jumped. Bread clutched in both hands. Creature appeared with a crack, eyes sharp and furious. "They are at the door," he hissed. Arcturus did not move from the window. "How many?" he asked. Creature's ears twitched. "6, he whispered. 2 Aurors, 4 in robes. Smell like orders, smell like tea and lies." Arcturus's mouth tightened. "They found the alley residue," he said. "Or they followed the charm before I cut it. Either way." Harry stared at him, panic rising again. "No," he whispered. Arcturus turned from the window and walked back to the table. He crouched so he was level with Harry again. "You stay here," he said. Harry's eyes went huge. "No. You go." Arcturus's gaze held steady. "I go to speak to them so they do not force entry," he said. "You stay with Creature." Harry looked toward Creature, and fear spiked. "Creature mean." Creature bristled. "Creature protects. Creature kills." Harry's lip trembled harder. Arcturus's voice cut sharp. "Creature," he said. Creature froze, ears drooping. "You will not threaten the child," Arcturus said. "You will not speak to him like he is filth. You will keep him safe. If you fail, I will remove you from this house." Creature's eyes widened with real terror. "Master cannot," he whispered. Arcturus's gaze did not soften. "Try me." Creature bowed so low his head nearly hit the floor. "Creature obeys," he rasped, voice shaking with anger and fear. Harry stared at Creature like he could not believe an adult had just defended him. Arcturus turned back to Harry. "You stay," he repeated. "You keep the pendant under your shirt. You do not touch the scar. You do not go near the locked door." Harry nodded fast. His breath shook. "You come back." Arcturus did not say promise. He said something heavier. "I will," he said. Then he stood and walked out. Harry's legs felt numb under the chair. He wanted to run after him. He wanted to hide under the table. He wanted his mummy. Creature hovered beside him. Stiff as a guard dog. "Child stays." He muttered, as if saying it out loud made it true. The front door thudded again harder. A muffled voice carried through the hall, calm and familiar in a way that made Harry's skin crawl. "My friend." The voice called, warm as a blanket. "Open the door. We only wish to speak." Creature's hands curled. "Beard voice," he whispered. Harry's stomach twisted. The voice sounded kind. The voice sounded like it would smile while it lied. Creature led Harry out of the dining room, not by grabbing him, but by walking close and blocking him like a moving wall. They stopped in the hallway, where Harry could see the front door from behind a corner. Arcturus stood at the door, cane in hand, posture straight. He did not open it yet. "Lord Black," an aura voice called, sharper than the warm one. "We have ministry authority to perform a welfare check." Arcturus spoke through the wood, calm as stone. "You do not," he said. The warm voice chuckled softly. "There is no need for hostility. We are concerned for the child." Arcturus's reply came immediate. "Concern should have arrived 3 years ago." Silence followed, thick and awkward. Then the warm voice again, gentle. "Arcturus. Please. I understand you are upset. Let us speak like reasonable people." Creature made a small gagging sound under his breath. Arcturus's eyes flicked toward the hallway corner where Creature and Harry hid. He did not look directly at Harry, but his gaze touched that space like a reminder. Then he opened the door. Not wide, just enough. Cold air rolled in, carrying the smell of wet street and wool and too many people. Harry peered around Creature's elbow. On the stoop stood a tall old man with half-moon spectacles and a long silver beard, blue eyes bright and calm. He wore robes that looked soft and expensive, and his smile was warm in a way that felt practiced. Beside him stood two Aurors in dark cloaks, wands visible, posture tense. Behind them were four witches and wizards in plain robes, faces set, eyes sharp. The bearded man lifted his hand slightly. "Thank you," he said softly. "I am relieved you are well." Arcturus did not step back to invite them in. He stood in the doorway like a wall. "You are not welcome," he said. The bearded man's smile did not slip. "Arcturus, I would not have come if I did not believe it was urgent." Arcturus's gaze stayed flat. Urgent for whom? The bearded man's eyes flicked past Arcturus, trying to see inside. Harry felt it like a hand reaching for him. Creature shifted, blocking Harry more. The bearded man's voice remained calm. "For Harry," he said. Harry flinched at his own name. Arcturus's voice turned colder. "You will not speak his name in my doorway like you own it." One of the Aurors cleared his throat. "Lord Black," he said, a little stiff. "We have received reports of violence near Diagon Alley. A confrontation involving dark magic. There are concerns." Arcturus looked at him as if he were a fly. "You received reports because someone hired killers," he said. "Your concern should be for the men who attacked a guardian carrying a child." The Auror's jaw tightened. "We will investigate." The bearded man sighed lightly. "Arcturus, this is not the time for blame." Arcturus's eyes narrowed. "Then when?" he asked, sharp. "After you retrieve the child and write a tidy report about unfortunate misunderstandings." The bearded man's smile softened, almost sad. "You presume malice where there is none," he said. "Harry has already suffered. I do not wish him to suffer more." Harry's scar prickled hard. He pressed his lips together and tried not to make a sound. Arcturus leaned forward slightly, voice low and precise. "And yet you sent a letter with a tracking charm," he said. "You placed a leash on a child." The bearded man's eyes widened just a fraction. For one beat, his smile faltered. Then it returned gentle as ever. "A misunderstanding," he said. "I sent no such charm." Arcturus's mouth tightened. "Lee," he said. The bearded man's voice stayed warm. "Arcturus, I assure you, I did not." Arcturus lifted his cane slightly, showing the ring. "You do not understand," he said quietly. "This house knows truth. It knows intention. It recognized that seal as bait." One of the witches behind the bearded man shifted, irritated. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "You cannot keep a child locked away in that place. It is unsafe." Creature made a hateful little sound, but he did not speak. Arcturus's gaze flicked to the witch. "And you are," he said. She lifted her chin. "Marlene McKinnon," she said, voice tight. "Order of the Phoenix." Arcturus's eyes narrowed. "You have courage," he said. "And poor judgment." Marlene's face flushed. "He belongs with people who will love him." Arcturus's voice turned sharp. "Love without competence is negligence," he said. "You lost him once already." The bearded man lifted a hand. "Enough," he said softly, but the softness carried weight. "We are not here to argue about the past." Arcturus did not blink. "Then leave," he said. The Auror spoke again, more firm now. "Lord Black, we can obtain an order," he said. "You know that. This does not need to become a confrontation." Arcturus's eyes went flat. "It already is," he said. The bearded man's gaze flicked past Arcturus again, searching the dark interior. Harry felt the reach, and his scar stung like a warning. Harry's breath hitched. Creature's hand shot out and covered Harry's mouth, firm but not cruel. His eyes were sharp, whispering without words. "Quiet." Harry nodded against Creature's palm, eyes wide. The bearded man's smile deepened, as if he sensed something. "Harry," he called gently, voice carrying into the house. "It is all right. You are safe. You can come out." Harry's eyes filled. The voice was kind. The voice was wrong. Arcturus's wand slid free from his cane in one smooth motion, so fast most of them did not notice until the tip was up. The bearded man's smile froze. "Arcturus," he warned softly. Arcturus's voice was ice. "Do not call to him," he said. You are not his grandfather. You are not his father. You are not his guardian. You are a stranger who likes to sound like a lullaby. Marlene took a step forward, wand half raised. You cannot threaten Albus, she snapped. Arcturus's eyes cut to her. Try, he said. The air in the doorway tightened. Harry felt it. The house felt it. The portraits held their breath. The aurors shifted, hands tightening on their wands. The order members spread slightly, trying to form angles, trying to create lines of sight. Arcturus watched them like he was counting pieces on a board. Then one of the order wizards, a tall man with dark hair and a long face, flicked his wand quick, too quick for a polite visit. A thin silver thread shot toward the doorframe, aimed at the threshold, trying to latch onto the house wards. Arcturus moved without hesitation. He snapped his wand, and the silver thread hit an invisible barrier and shattered into sparks. The bearded man's calm smile vanished. Do not, he said sharply. The dark-haired wizard's face twisted. We have to confirm, he hissed. We have to know he is here. Arcturus's mouth tightened. So you can take him, he said. Marlene's voice rose. So we can save him. Arcturus's laugh was quiet and ugly. You are late, he said. And you came with wands raised. The bearded man lifted his hands, palms out. Stand down. He told his people, but his eyes stayed hard now. The warmth was gone. The mask had slipped, just enough. Arcturus felt it and did not waste it. You will leave, Arcturus said. Now, the auror swallowed. Lord Black, if you do not cooperate, we will be forced to act. Arcturus's eyes went colder. Then act, he said. Marlene's wand came up. So did the others. The first curse flew red and fast, aimed at Arcturus's chest. Arcturus flicked his wand. The curse hit the edge of a shield and burst into sparks that rained into the wet street. The shield did not budge. Arcturus stepped forward into the doorway like he was stepping into a dual circle. Harry's stomach dropped. He clutched the wall with one hand, Creature's fingers still over his mouth. The bearded man's voice snapped, no longer gentle. Stop, he commanded, and the air itself seemed to lean toward him. Arcturus did not stop. He slammed the tip of his wand into the threshold. The house answered again. A low pulse rolled outward, invisible but heavy. The front step stones lit with faint lines, ancient runes waking, and the air around the stoop thickened like syrup. Two of the order members staggered as if the ground shifted under them. One auror stumbled backward, eyes wide, suddenly aware that he was standing on hostile territory. Marlene braced herself, jaw clenched. She pushed a counter-charm, trying to stabilize the air. Arcturus lifted his wand and spoke a short phrase. The air snapped. Marlene's wand arm jerked, not broken, but forced down, as if an invisible hand pressed her wrist toward the ground. She grunted, teeth clenched. What did you do? She hissed. Arcturus's voice stayed calm. I reminded you where you stand, he said. This house does not recognize your authority. The dark-haired wizard fired again, a slicing curse that cut through rain like a blade. Arcturus turned his wand. A slab of black stone rose from the doorstep, blocking the curse. The curse hit stone and dispersed in a hiss. The bearded man's eyes sharpened. His hand moved, slow and deliberate, as if he did not want to escalate but would. Arcturus, he said, voice tight. You are endangering him. Arcturus's gaze stayed on him. You already did, he said. You let him rot in a cupboard while you drank tea and congratulated yourself for a plan. The bearded man's face hardened. For the first time, anger bled through. You do not know everything, he said. Arcturus's laugh was soft and cruel. And you do, he replied. That is the problem. The bearded man lifted his wand. Harry's scar flared in pain, like it recognized the motion. Harry made a small sound into Creature's hand, a muffled cry. Creature's eyes went wide. He hissed low and furious. Arcturus's head snapped toward the hallway corner, hearing it. For a heartbeat, his focus shifted. That was all it took. One of the aurors, young and nervous, saw the opening and fired a binding spell toward the interior, not at Arcturus, but past him, aimed into the hallway. The spell streaked inside like a rope made of light. Creature reacted faster than any of them expected. He vanished. The binding spell hit empty air and splattered sparks on the wall. Harry's breath punched out. Then Creature reappeared in front of Harry, hands spread, eyes wild, and with a crack he threw himself and Harry into a different part of the hall, a short jump that made Harry's stomach lurch. Harry stumbled, knees hitting the floor, and the breath left him in a sob. Creature planted himself between Harry and the doorway, trembling with rage. "No take hair," he hissed, voice shaking. "No take child." Arcturus turned back to the stoop, fury sharpened now. He lifted his wand and spoke a phrase that sounded like a verdict. The doorstep runes flared. The air around the 6 visitors tightened, and then slammed down like a weight. Marlene gasped, knees buckling. The dark-haired wizard hit one knee, teeth clenched. One Auror swore as his wand arm went numb. The bearded man held himself upright, but his smile was gone entirely. His eyes were cold and bright. "Enough," he said, and there was power in the word, power that pressed against the house like a tide. The house groaned. Arcturus's jaw tightened as the pressure met his wards. For the first time, Harry saw strain in him, a faint tremor in his wand hand. Arcturus leaned into it anyway. He stepped forward and pointed his wand at the bearded man's chest. "Leave," he said again. "Or I will mark every one of you as hostile, and this house will remember your scent for the rest of your lives." The bearded man's eyes narrowed, rain ran down his beard. His voice dropped, no warmth left. "I did not come to fight," he said. Arcturus's eyes held his. "Then you should have come alone," he said. Marlene struggled against the weight spell, voice strained. "Albus, we cannot just leave him." The bearded man did not look at her. His gaze stayed on Arcturus, measuring. Then his eyes flicked, just once, toward the hallway behind Arcturus, as if he could see through walls. Harry's scar burned. Arcturus saw it. His face went still. The bearded man's mouth softened into something like regret, but it did not reach his eyes. "Harry has a destiny," he said quietly. "He cannot be hidden in darkness." Arcturus's laugh was sharp. "He is not a candle for you to hold up," he said. "He is a child." The bearded man's jaw tightened. "You are making enemies," he warned. Arcturus stepped closer, wand unwavering. "I already have enemies," he said. "Now they will learn to fear me more than they fear you." A long beat passed. Rain hissed on stone. The street beyond held its breath. Then the bearded man lifted his hand, palm out, and the pressure he was pushing eased, slow. The house creak softened with it. "I will leave," he said. Marlene stared at him, shocked. "Albus." The bearded man did not break eye contact with Arcturus. "This is not over," he said, voice quiet. Arcturus's gaze stayed cold. "It was over the moment you tried to leash him," he replied. The bearded man's eyes flicked downward, to Arcturus's ring, then back up. "Be careful," he said softly. "There are forces you have not seen yet." Arcturus did not blink. "Then they can come," he said. The bearded man turned away first. The weight spell released completely. The order members staggered, catching themselves. The Aurors straightened, faces tight with humiliation. Marlene glared back at the open door, eyes bright with frustration and worry. "This is wrong," she snapped, voice breaking. "He needs people who love him." Arcturus's voice came flat. "Then learn how to protect," he said. "Love is not a shield." Marlene opened her mouth to argue again, then stopped as the bearded man lifted a hand, commanding silence. They stepped off the stoop. Arcturus watched until they reached the corner and vanished from sight, their forms swallowed by rain and London noise. Only then did Arcturus close the door. The locks clicked on their own, one after another, like the house was sealing a wound. For a moment, the hallway was silent. Harry sat on the floor, knees tucked up, shaking hard. His scar still burned. His throat felt tight and sore, like he had held in a scream too long. Creature hovered over him, hands fluttering like he did not know what to do when his job was done. His eyes were furious. "They came," he hissed. "They dared. Creature hates them." Arcturus crossed the hall and crouched beside Harry. Harry's eyes locked on him, wide and wet. "They take?" he whispered. Arcturus's voice went low. "They tried," he said. "They failed." Harry's breath trembled. "They come again." Arcturus did not lie. Yes, he said. Harry's face crumpled. His shoulders shook and he started to cry again, quiet and exhausted, as if the tears were all he had left. Arcturus looked at him for a long beat. Then he did something he had not done before. He took off his ring. The movement made Creature stiffen, like the house did not like the signet leaving skin. Arcturus ignored that. He placed the ring in Harry's small palm. Harry froze. The ring was heavy. Cold, it felt wrong in his little hand, too big, too serious. His fingers tried to curl around it anyway. Arcturus closed Harry's fingers gently over it. Hold, he said. Harry sniffed, confused. Mine. Arcturus shook his head once. Not yet, he said. But it is proof. If someone enters this house and tries to take you, you show this to Creature and you say one word. Harry's crying hitched. He stared up. Word. Arcturus's gaze stayed fixed, sharp and steady. Sanctum, he said. Harry's mouth moved around it. Sanctum. The word felt strange, but it felt important. Creature's eyes widened. He sucked in a breath like he had been punched. Master gives ring, he whispered, shaken. Arcturus looked at him. It is temporary, he said. If the child triggers Sanctum, you obey the house command. You do not argue. You do not improvise. You take him to the deep room and you seal it. Creature's face went pale under his gray skin. Deep room, he whispered. Arcturus's gaze did not soften. Yes, he said. The room you fear. The room that bites. It will bite them harder. Harry's stomach twisted. Deep room sounded like cupboard, but worse. He clutched the ring anyway because Arcturus's hand was still over his, steady. Harry's voice shook. I scared. Arcturus's answer came simple. I know, he said. He released Harry's hand. Harry stared at the ring, then at Arcturus. His little fingers tightened around the metal like it might keep the world from taking him again. Arcturus stood. He looked down the hallway toward the scratched door, the one Creature had warned about. His eyes narrowed as if he could already see the path ahead. Creature, he said. Creature snapped upright. Master. Pack, Arcturus said. We are leaving tonight. Creature blinked, shocked. Leave house. Arcturus's gaze stayed cold. They have confirmed they can find pressure points, he said. I will not wait for them to return with law and numbers. Harry's breath hitched. Leave. Arcturus looked down at him. Yes, he said. We'll go where they cannot knock on a door and smile. Creature's hands twisted. We're, he rasped. Arcturus's mouth tightened into something like grim satisfaction. A place under Goblin Stone, he said. A place with contracts that even bearded men respect. Harry stared at him, ring clutched tight, scar aching. Arcturus turned toward the dining room. Already moving, already planning. Behind him, the house creaked low and angry, like it did not want to let them go. And from the far end of the hall the scratched door gave a faint, soft sound, as if something inside had heard the word sanctum, and smiled. Under Goblin Stone Creature moved like a storm in a hallway. He snapped his fingers and trunks appeared, then vanished again, then appeared in a different place like the house itself was trying to help and argue at the same time. Linen, cloaks, a small pile of folded clothes that were not Harry's. Everything flickered in and out as Creature muttered insults at the air. The portraits stayed dark, but Harry could still feel eyes in the walls, watching without speaking. Harry sat on the bottom step, knees tucked in, clutching Arcturus's ring so tight his fingers ached. The metal was cold and heavy, and it made his palm feel important and scared at once. His scar prickled in little pulses, like it was listening for the door again. Arcturus came down the stairs fast, cane in hand, eyes sharp. He did not look tired, but his shoulders held tension like a wire pulled too tight. He stopped at the bottom step and looked at Harry's grip. Do not squeeze until you bleed, Arcturus said. Harry blinked up at him. Mine? He whispered. Arcturus's gaze stayed steady. Temporary, he corrected. But if you need it, you use it. Harry swallowed. Sanctum. Arcturus nodded once. Wes. Creature appeared at the foot of the stairs with a bundle of cloth and a hiss of satisfaction. Creature packed essentials, he said. and Creature packed extra knives because people smile while they stab. Arcturus did not react to the knives' comment. He looked at the trunks. "Leave the house valuables," he said. "We are not moving an estate, we are moving a child." Creature's eyes flashed, offended. "House valuables are hair valuables," he muttered. "Child is heir." Arcturus's voice cut clean. "Child," he said. Creature flinched like the word had force. "Yes, master," he rasped, then corrected himself too late. He froze, eyes wide, like he expected punishment. Arcturus stared at him until Creature's ears drooped. "Do not call him that," Arcturus said. "Not now." Harry's stomach twisted at the argument. He did not like being called things he did not understand. He hugged the ring closer and tried to breathe the way Arcturus told him. In, out, even though his chest felt tight. A soft thud came from above, like the house settling. Then another, like a footstep that did not belong to any of them. Harry's eyes went wide. He looked up the stairs, mouth open, no sound coming out. Arcturus went still. His head tilted slightly, listening. His wand slid free inside the cane with a quiet click that Harry felt more than heard. Creature's fingers curled. "House is angry," he whispered. "House heard strangers." Arcturus's gaze snapped to Creature. "Wards," he said. Creature swallowed. "Wards hold," he said quickly. "But wards complain. They complain like old bones." Arcturus moved to the hallway, stepping light for a man his age. He pointed the cane wand at the front door without touching it and spoke a short phrase under his breath. The air tightened near the door, like something invisible braced itself. Harry's scar prickled harder, and he flinched, pressing his free hand against his thigh to stop it reaching his forehead. Arcturus looked back at Harry. "Up," he said. Harry hesitated. His legs felt wrong, like they belonged to someone else. Then Arcturus took one step toward him, and Harry scrambled up fast, moving because the tone left no room for arguing. Arcturus's hand landed on Harry's shoulder, steady. "Stay behind me," he said. Harry nodded hard, eyes wet. Creature appeared at Arcturus's other side, thin chest puffed out like he was trying to be brave for the house. "If they enter," he whispered. Creature tears throats. Arcturus did not look at him. "If they enter, you take the child," he said. "You do not fight in front of him." Creature's face twisted. "But master fights." Arcturus's voice went flat. "I am not 3. Harry's breath hitched at the number. It made him feel seen in a way that hurt. A knock came, gentle, polite. Like someone had learned nothing from being turned away. It was followed by that warm voice again, muffled through wood. "Arcturus." The voice called softly. "I know you can hear me. We must speak again, privately this time." Harry's stomach rolled. The voice sounded like a blanket, and Harry hated it for that. He pressed his face into Arcturus's cloak, trying to disappear. Arcturus did not answer through the door. He turned his head slightly toward Creature. "Now," he said. Creature snapped his fingers. The world lurched. Harry's stomach climbed into his throat and his breath punched out. He grabbed Arcturus's cloak so hard his fingers hurt, ring biting his palm. The hallway vanished, and cold stone replaced it, the air changing so fast it made Harry gag. They were in a narrow passage lit by thin lines of greenish light that ran along the walls like veins. The stone was damp, and the smell was iron and old coins and something like wet earth. Harry swallowed hard and tried not to throw up. Arcturus held him closer for one beat. Not a hug, just control. "Breathe," he said. Harry breathed, shaky and loud. Creature stood on the other side, panting like he had run even though he had not. "Passage is open," he rasped. "Old black passage, old goblin scars. Creature hates it." Arcturus looked down the corridor. "Move," he said. They walked. Harry's shoes slapped wet stone. Each step echoed. He kept his eyes on Arcturus's cane tip, tapping softly. Tap, tap, tap. The sound made his heart slow down a little, like a metronome telling him the world still had rules. The passage bent left, then right, then down. Harry's legs started to shake with exhaustion. He stumbled once, and Arcturus caught him by the back of the shirt, steadying him without yanking. "Tired?" Harry whispered, embarrassed. Arcturus did not mock him. "Yes," he said. Keep going. Creature muttered behind them, hateful and breathless. Muddy tunnels, goblin stink, master makes creature suffer. Arcturus glanced back once. You can leave, he said. Creature's eyes went wide. Creature cannot leave master. He snapped, offended. Creature complains, creature stays. Arcturus turned forward again. Then stop complaining, he said. Harry made a small hiccup laugh, surprised by it. It came out broken, but it was a laugh. He clutched the ring tighter anyway. The passage ended at a stone door with no handle. It was carved with marks that looked like scratches, but too deliberate to be random. Arcturus raised his ring hand, then paused, remembering the ring was in Harry's fist. Arcturus crouched. Give it, he said. Harry's fingers did not want to open. He stared at the ring like it was the only solid thing in the world. Arcturus waited, eyes steady. Harry's hand trembled as he opened his fingers and placed the ring into Arcturus's palm. The cold left his skin and he felt suddenly smaller, like someone had taken weight away and left him exposed. Arcturus slid the ring on, then pressed it to the door. The stone hummed. A line of light traced itself around the edge of the door, clean and quick. The door did not swing. It sank inward like the wall swallowed it. Cold air rushed out, sharper than the passage air, making Harry shiver. Beyond was a vault corridor, not the public one with counters and torches, but something older, narrower, built like a spine. The floor was smoother here, polished by time. The walls carried a low vibration, like the place was alive and annoyed. A goblin guard stepped out from a shadowed notch in the wall. He was short, broad, and his eyes were flat and sharp. He held a spear that looked more like a ritual object than a weapon, but Harry's body still tightened at the sight of it. The goblin's gaze flicked to Arcturus, then to Harry, then to Creature. His nostrils flared. Black passage, he said, voice like stone scraping stone. Long closed, Arcturus did not bow or soften. It is open, he replied. I require sanctuary. The goblin guard's eyes narrowed. Sanctuary costs. Arcturus nodded. Yes, Creature hissed under his breath. Everything costs with goblins. The guard's gaze snapped to Creature. Everything costs with elves too, he said, and the way he said it made Creature go stiff. Harry stared at the goblin, startled. He had never heard adults talk back to Creature like that. Arcturus lifted his chin slightly. Summon Griffook, he said. The guard bared teeth in a smile that was not friendly. You do not summon, he said. You request. Arcturus stared at him for a beat, then adjusted. I request Griffook, he said. The guard nodded once, satisfied. He tapped the spear butt against the floor. A low tone rolled through the corridor, like the building had hummed a note. Footsteps approached, quick and light. Griffook appeared from a side tunnel, coat neat, eyes bright with interest. He took one look at Harry's pale face and the ring on Arcturus's hand, and his expression shifted into something sharper. You return, Griffook said. Arcturus did not waste time. They came to my door, he said. They used a tracking charm. They are pressing. Griffook's eyes flicked to Harry. Wizards press until stone cracks, he said. Then they call it fate. Harry did not understand, but he felt the bitter in the words. Arcturus stepped aside half a pace so Harry could stay behind him. I want a goblin sanctum, Arcturus said. Under your law, under your wards. No entry without my blood and your key. Griffook's eyes gleamed. You want the old arrangement, he said. The one the ministry hates. Yes, Arcturus said. Griffook tilted his head. And you bring a child claim. That increases the fee. Arcturus's mouth tightened. Name it. Griffook smiled slightly. You already paid well today, he said. No, you pay for insult. You used a black passage without notifying Gringotts. Arcturus stared at him. I notified you by arriving alive, he said. Creature made a small choking sound that might have been a laugh. Griffook's smile sharpened. Good, he said. Insult plus convenience. Triple fee. Arcturus did not flinch. Don't, he said. Griffook snapped his fingers. A clerk appeared with a ledger and a thin vial. Harry's stomach turned at the vial. He pressed his lips together and tried not to whine. Griffook noticed anyway. He leaned down slightly, eyes bright. Does the child bleed easily? He asked, like he was asking about a lock's condition. Arcturus's voice cut cold. He bleeds like a child, he said. Do not treat him like a tool. Griffook blinked, amused. Wizards treat goblins like tools, he replied. Yet you object again. Arcturus held his gaze. Yes, he said, same as before. Griffook's nostrils flared. Interesting, he murmured. Then he straightened. Very well. We proceed. They moved deeper. The corridor turned and opened into a chamber shaped like a bowl carved into stone. There were no torches. The light came from the ceiling itself, faint and steady, like glow trapped inside rock. In the center was a low dais with a basin and 3 metal plates arranged like a triangle. Harry's scar prickled the moment he stepped in, and he made a small sound. Arcturus glanced down. Hold, he said quietly. Harry clutched Arcturus's cloak with both hands, shaking. Hurts, he whispered. Griffook watched the child's face, then the scar, then the pendant line under Harry's shirt where the chain pressed the fabric. His eyes narrowed in a new way, careful. There is something in him, he said, not a question. Arcturus did not deny it. Yes, he replied. Griffook nodded once, like he had expected that. Then you will want the deepest chamber, he said. The one that filters foreign signatures. Arcturus's jaw tightened. Yes, he said again. The clerk gestured to the basin. Blood, he said. Arcturus pricked his own finger without hesitation and let a drop fall into the basin. The stone drank it, shimmered, then held the glow. Griffook stepped to the second plate and pricked his finger too, letting goblin blood fall into the metal groove. The blood looked darker, thicker, like it carried more iron. The basin hummed louder, the air tightening. The clerk turned to Harry and held the vial up. Child blood, he said. Harry stiffened. His eyes filled. He looked at Arcturus, panic rising. Arcturus did not sugarcoat it. 1 drop, he said. Then it is done. Harry's lower lip trembled. No, Arcturus crouched, face level with Harry's. Listen, he said. If you want them to stop knocking, you give 1 drop now. Then you sleep in a place where they cannot reach you. Harry's breath shook. He stared at Arcturus's eyes, trying to find a trick, trying to find a lie. He did not find one. Harry held his hand out, trembling. The clerk pricked him quick. Harry yelped and jerked, then bit the inside of his cheek hard enough to make his eyes water more. He held still, breathing fast. A single drop fell into the basin. The chamber hummed like a giant bee. Harry's scar stung hard and he cried out, grabbing at Arcturus's cloak, body shaking. His stomach rolled, and he gagged, spit and bile rising. Arcturus shifted him, turning his head sideways so he would not choke. Breathe, he said, sharp now, focused. Harry coughed and swallowed, eyes squeezed shut. Sick, he whispered, voice tiny. Griffook watched the reaction with a calculating stare. Foreign resonance, he said. Strong. Arcturus's fingers tightened on the cane. Yes, he said. The basin's glow rose into a thin column. It formed a shape in the air, not a crest, but a set of lines like a contract signature written in light. The lines twisted, then settled into something stable. The clerk lifted the ledger and began to write, quill scratching fast. The sound echoed in the stone chamber, sharp and constant. Griffook spoke, voice formal now. Under Goblin law, sanctuary is granted to the child named Harry James Potter. Under the guardianship claim of Arcturus Black, sealed by blood of both parties and by Gringotts Ward Corps, he said. Entry is restricted. Detection is dulled. Contact is filtered. Harry did not understand the words, but his scar stopped burning like a slap and turned into a dull ache. He sagged against Arcturus, exhausted. Arcturus exhaled once, controlled. Griffook looked down at Harry. He is a junction, he said again, quieter. That makes him valuable. It also makes him loud. Arcturus's voice went low. I am making him quiet, he said. Griffook's eyes gleamed. For a price, he said. Arcturus did not argue. Show me the chamber, he said. Griffook gestured, and the guard from before stepped forward, spear tapping once. A section of wall slid aside, revealing a downward stair carved steep into stone. Harry stared down the stairs and felt his stomach twist again. It looked like a throat leading into a darker stomach. Arcturus shifted Harry into his arms. "Close your eyes if you want," he said. Harry did not close them. He clutched Arcturus's cloak and stared because fear was worse when he could not see it. They went down. The stairs spiraled. The air got colder. The hum of the chamber above faded and was replaced by a low pulse that felt like the stone itself had a heartbeat. Harry's ears popped slightly as pressure changed. Creature followed behind, muttering, "Stone eats sound. Stone eats smell. Stone makes creature itch." Arcturus did not answer him. At the bottom, the passage opened into a small vault room with a single door of black metal. No handle, no keyhole. The surface was smooth except for a shallow impression shaped like a palm. Griffhook stepped aside. "This is a sanctum door," he said. "It recognizes blood and intention. Lie to it and it bites. Force it and it kills." Harry's eyes went wider. He pressed his face into Arcturus's cloak for a second, then peeked again. Arcturus moved forward and placed his palm on the door. The metal warmed under his hand, then shifted. The door sank inward with a soft hiss, like air being released from a sealed jar. Warmth spilled out, oddly comforting. Not stale like the house, not cold like the passage. It smelled like clean stone and faint herbs. Inside was a room with a low bed, a small table, and a shelf carved into the wall. No windows. No corners that held deep shadow. The light came from the ceiling again, gentle. Harry's body loosened a fraction as soon as he stepped inside, like something in him recognized the quiet. Arcturus set him down on the bed. Harry swayed, exhausted. He sat, hands trembling, ring imprint still aching in his palm, even though he no longer held it. His finger throbbed, and his scar ached like a bruise. Griffhook stood in the doorway, not entering fully. "This room filters signatures," he said. "If someone tries to push a beacon through your scar, the room will chew it up and spit out nothing." Harry did not understand, but the word chew made him imagine the room as a mouth. He curled his toes under him. Arcturus looked at Griffhook. "How long before they noticed the charm died?" he asked. Griffhook shrugged slightly. "Hours," he said. "Maybe less. Wizards love to watch their own strings." Arcturus's gaze sharpened. "And the ministry," he said. "They will seek an order." Griffhook's smile was thin. "Orders do not open sanctum doors," he said. "But orders can create noise. Noise brings attention. Attention brings knives." Arcturus nodded once. "Good," he said, and the way he said it made it clear he was already planning how to use the noise. Creature crept into the room at last, sniffing. "Stone is clean," he muttered, grudging. "Not like outside." Arcturus looked at him. "Stay with him," he said. "No threats. No stories. No letting him wander." Creature's ears twitched. "Creature obeys," he rasped. Griffhook's gaze flicked to Creature, then back to Arcturus. "You are hiding him," he said. "But you are also preparing to strike." Arcturus did not deny it. "Yes," he said. Griffhook's eyes gleamed. "Good," he replied. "Goblins respect a guardian who does not beg." Arcturus's mouth tightened. "I do not beg," he said. Griffhook tapped the doorframe once with a finger. "A message will come soon," he said. "Your public enemies will want you out of this stone. Your private enemies will want the child alone." Arcturus's eyes narrowed. "And you," he said. "What do you want?" Griffhook smiled sharp. "Contracts honored," he said. "Dead paid. Wizards kept honest. And one more thing." Arcturus waited. Griffhook lowered his voice. "The Potter Vault was accessed earlier," he said. "By authorization that should not exist." Arcturus went still. "By whom?" he asked. Griffhook's eyes stayed bright. "Not by you," he said. "Not by the child." The signature was twisted. It mimicked Potter blood without being Potter blood. Harry's scar prickled, sharp enough to make him flinch. He pressed both hands into the blanket, gripping it hard. Arcturus's voice went colder. "Someone is using him?" he said. Griffhook nodded once. "Yes," he replied. And they took a small object. Not gold. Not heirlooms. A paper packet stored in a side drawer, sealed under goblin wax. Arcturus's jaw tightened. "What packet?" he asked. Griffhook smiled slightly. "A will copy," he said. "Filed the night your parents died." The room felt like it got smaller. Harry stared at Arcturus, eyes wide and wet. He did not understand Will, but he understood parents, and he understood the way Arcturus's body went rigid. Arcturus's voice came low. "They stole the page I am missing," he said. Griffook's smile sharpened. "Perhaps," he said, "or perhaps they stole the page that proves you are right." Arcturus's eyes flashed. "Show me the vault record," he said. Griffook shook his head once, calm and firm. "Not yet," he said. "You are under sanctuary. You cannot storm the bank in this state. You will think first." Arcturus stared at him, anger controlled. "You are testing me," he said. Griffook's eyes gleamed. "I am reminding you you are in Goblin Stone," he replied. "Even you do not threaten here." Arcturus held his gaze for a long beat, then nodded once, stiff. "Fine," he said. Harry's voice came small. "Bad man take paper," he whispered. Arcturus looked down at him. His expression stayed hard, but his eyes sharpened in a different way, like he was focusing on Harry as a person again. "Yes," he said. "And we will take it back." Harry swallowed. "How?" Arcturus's answer came quiet. "Be finding the lie that opened the vault," he said. Griffook leaned back slightly, satisfied. "Rest," he said. "When you are ready, I will show you the access imprint. It will tell you the flavor of the magic used." Arcturus nodded. "Send it," he said. Griffook stepped out, then paused. "One more thing," he said. The mimic signature carried a stag trace. Arcturus's jaw clenched. Creature hissed, furious. "Beard man." Griffook's smile was thin. "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe someone wants you thinking Beard man again. That is the art of good bait." Then he left. The door did not shut with a click. It sank closed like stone swallowing sound. Harry sat on the bed, shaking, breath short. His scar prickled, and his stomach still felt sour from the passage and the blood. Arcturus moved to the table and set his cane down. He stood still for a moment like he was forcing his mind to choose order over rage. Then he turned back to Harry. "You will sleep," he said. Harry's eyes filled. "No sleep," he whispered. "Bad men." Arcturus's voice stayed firm. "Sleep," he repeated. "If you stay awake, you will break." Harry's lower lip trembled. He looked at Creature like he wanted someone else to say it differently. Creature shifted, uncomfortable. "Stone is safe," he muttered. "No cupboards. No Vernon." Harry flinched at the name, but the words "no cupboard" landed like a small blanket anyway. He curled up on the bed, clutching the blanket in both hands. Arcturus pulled a small vial from his cloak, the calming draught from last night. He set it on the table, not forcing it. "One sip," he said. "Only if you want." Harry stared at it, distrustful, then looked at Arcturus's face. Arcturus did not move. He waited like a man who did not coax. Harry reached with a trembling hand and took the smallest sip. The bitter taste made him scrunch his face. He coughed once, then swallowed, eyes watering. Arcturus nodded once. "Good," he said. Harry's eyelids started to feel heavy almost immediately. His body sagged like the tight wire inside him finally loosened. He fought it at first, blinking hard, trying to stay alert. Arcturus watched him with a steady gaze. "You are safe for this hour," he said, voice low. "I will be here." Harry's voice was tiny now. "You not go." Arcturus did not lie. "I will not leave this room while you fall asleep," he said. Harry's eyes fluttered. He swallowed hard, then whispered one last word, like a test. "Sanctum." Arcturus's gaze held. "Yes," he said. "If you wake and you are afraid, you say it." Harry's fingers loosened on the blanket. His breathing slowed. His face softened into exhausted sleep. Tears dried on his cheeks. Creature stood by the door, guarding, stiff and silent for once. Arcturus sat at the table and stared at the sealed stone ceiling like he could see through it into the world above. His fingers tapped once, then stopped. He took a slow breath, controlled, and his eyes went cold and clear. Outside this room, someone had faked a stag to steal a will, and now Arcturus knew exactly where the next knife would come from. The name in the ink, Harry wakes up because the stone hum changes. It is not loud. It is not a bang like the cupboard door. It is a deep vibration that shifts under his ribs, like the bed has a heartbeat and someone just pressed on it. His eyes open to the soft ceiling glow, and for a second he forgets where he is. Then his scar aches, dull and steady, and he remembers everything at once. He sits up too fast and his stomach rolls. The blanket slips, and cold air kisses his knees. He blinks hard, breathing quick, listening. Arcturus is at the table. He has not moved from the chair. The cane rests against his leg. His hands are folded, but his eyes are open, sharp, looking at the door like he is waiting for it to blink first. Creature stands near the wall, stiff, ears twitching, hands curled like claws he is trying not to use. Harry swallows. His throat is dry. Arcturus looks at him. "You are awake," he says. Harry nods, small. His hands hover, wanting to touch his forehead, but he keeps them down like he was told. "Hurt," he whispers. Arcturus's gaze flicks to the scar, then back to Harry's eyes. "Dull," he says, as if he is measuring the pain. Not flaring. Harry does not know how to explain it. He just knows it is there, like a bruise that never goes away. He shifts on the bed, toes curling, and stares at the door. "Why hum?" he asks. Creature makes a thin sound. "Stone is talking," he mutters. Arcturus answers instead. "The sanctum wards are registering pressure," he says. "Someone outside is probing." Harry's belly tightens. "Knock," he whispers. No knocking. Arcturus says. "Not here." Harry's eyes fill anyway, fast and hot. They find. Arcturus stands. His chair legs scrape stone, and the scrape makes Harry flinch. But Arcturus does not look at the scrape. He walks to the door and places his palm on the metal, feeling it. The hum shifts again, slightly higher, like a note being tested. Arcturus turns his head toward Creature. "Report," he says. Creature's ears twitch. "2 goblins at outer corridor," he whispers. 3 more down the bend. They hold spears. They look angry. They smell like work. Arcturus's eyes narrow. "Goblins are not the pressure," he says. Creature's mouth pinches. "No," he admits. "Pressure smells like wizard, like wax and manners." Harry's scar prickles, a small sting that makes his shoulders lift. He breathes fast. "Bad men." Arcturus looks down at him. "Stay seated," he says. "If you stand, you will fall." Harry sits still, hands clenched in the blanket. A soft sound comes through the door. Not a knock. A pulse, like a finger tapping from the other side, too careful to be angry. The metal warms under Arcturus's palm, then cools again, as if it is testing him back. Arcturus's gaze sharpens. "Someone is attempting an imprint," he says. Creature hisses. "They try to pretend blood," he spits. Harry's breathing gets fast. "Sanctum." He whispers, testing the word like it is a shield. Arcturus's head turns, eyes pinning him. "Not yet," he says. "Do not waste it." Harry swallows hard and nods. Arcturus steps away from the door and moves to the table. He opens the leather folio, pulls out a folded sheet that looks like it came from a ledger, and smooths it flat. The paper carries a faint shimmer, like someone rubbed it with powdered stone. Harry watches, confused. Arcturus looks at Creature. "Fetch Griffhook," he says. "Now." Creature vanishes with a crack. The hum in the room deepens. Harry feels it in his teeth. He presses his lips together, trying not to cry. Arcturus speaks without looking away from the paper. "They will try to open the door," he says. "They will fail. The question is what they will do when they fail." Harry's voice comes small. "Hurt you." Arcturus's mouth tightens. "They will try," he says. "They will also try something else." Harry blinks, tears clinging. "What?" Arcturus finally looks at him. "They will try to make you move," he says. "Fear makes children run. Running makes children visible." Harry's chest tightens. He grips the blanket harder. "I not run." Arcturus nods once, like that answer matters. "Good," he says. "Then you do what I tell you." The door hums again, and this time the metal makes a soft click, as if a lock inside it just thought about turning. Harry freezes. Arcturus's wand slides free from the cane in one smooth motion. The wand tip is up, steady. "Now we see," he murmurs. Creature reappears with a crack, and Griffhook is with him, stepping into the room with a hard expression and no patience. Griffhook's eyes flick to Harry, then to Arcturus's wand, then to the door. "They are attempting a false blood imprint," Griffhook says. Arcturus points at the paper on the table. You brought the access imprint, he says. Griffook's gaze drops. He nods once. Yes, he says. The record of the Potter Vault access. The trace is fresh enough to bite. Harry does not understand Vault, but he understands the way both of them sound when they talk. It sounds like knives being set on a table. Arcturus keeps his wand up. Read it, he says. Griffook steps closer and places 2 fingers on the paper. His nails are sharp. The paper shivers. A faint line of light runs across it, then forms a pattern like handwriting made out of smoke. Griffook's nostrils flare. It is a forge, he says. A mimic built from residue. Arcturus's eyes narrow. Residue from what? He asks. Griffook looks at Harry, then back at Arcturus. From the scar, he says. Harry's breath catches. His scar aches like it heard its name. Arcturus's voice drops. Explain, he says. Griffook's tone is clipped. The attacker who marked the child left a signature, he says. That signature sits in the scar like a thorn. A skilled forger can scrape a sliver of that signature through a charm and pretend it is the child's blood. The bank recognizes the pattern. Creature makes a furious sound. They use child, he hisses. Harry's eyes fill. He whispers, inside me. Arcturus turns his head slightly toward him. Yes, he says, but you are still you. Harry does not feel like himself right now. He feels like a room with something locked in it. Griffook keeps reading the smoke lines. There is also a second trace, he says. A stag overlay. Arcturus's jaw tightens. Bait, he says. Griffook nods once. Bait, he repeats. But the overlay is sloppy. It is there to be noticed. The real hook is underneath. Arcturus steps closer, eyes focused. Show me, he says. Griffook drags a nail across the paper, careful and controlled, like he is peeling skin. The smoke lines shift. A deeper pattern shows under the stag, darker, older, angled like a knot. Creature's ears go flat. Black, he whispers. Arcturus's eyes narrow. Not mine, he says. Griffook's mouth twitches. Not yours, he agrees. But it is black craft. Someone has a black key or a black teacher. Harry's stomach rolls. He looks at Arcturus, scared of what that means. Arcturus's voice stays steady. They are trying to open this door, he says. Right now. Griffook's eyes flick to the metal. Yes, he says. And they think they can do it because the child is in here. Harry's hands shake. He whispers the word again, barely audible. Sanctum. Arcturus snaps his gaze to him. Not yet, he repeats. The door clicks again, louder this time. The hum spikes. The room pressure deepens, making Harry's ears feel full. Griffook's eyes narrow. They are pushing harder, he says. Arcturus lifts his wand toward the door, not touching it, and speaks a short phrase. The stone answers. A low pulse rolls through the room like the walls tightening their grip. The hum steadies, resisting. Harry's scar stings, but it does not flare. It is like the sanctum is chewing the pressure before it reaches him. Griffook nods slightly, impressed despite himself. Good, he says. The door resists. But if they keep pressing, they will not stop at the door. Arcturus's eyes go cold. They will attempt entry through the corridor, he says. Creature hisses. Goblins will stab, he says. Griffook's mouth curls. Goblins will do more than stab, he says. But there is a problem. Arcturus's gaze snaps to him. Say it, he says. Griffook points to the smoke pattern. The black knot, he says. It is not only a key. It is also an address. Arcturus's jaw tightens. They can triangulate, he says. Griffook nods. They can push pressure points until the stone gives information, he says. Not the door. The surrounding systems. Harry hears none of the technical words properly. He only hears pressure, gives information, and his body reacts like it is about to be grabbed again. He whispers, I scared. Arcturus's head turns. I know, he says. Stay. He looks at Griffook. Cut the corridor, he says. Seal the approach. Griffook shakes his head once. If we seal it fully, we also trap you, he says. Arcturus's eyes harden. Good, he says. Griffook stares at him for a beat, then his mouth twitches. You are not a normal wizard, he says. Arcturus does not react to that. Do it, he repeats. Griffook turns and strides out of the sanctum room, moving fast. Creature stays. His eyes flick to Harry, then away, like he does not know how to look at a child who is shaking without insulting him. Arcturus crouches beside the bed. He is close enough that Harry can smell ink and stone dust on him. "Listen," Arcturus says. Harry looks at him, eyes wet. Arcturus's voice is slow and clear, the way it gets when he knows fear is taking up too much space. "If anything happens, you say the word," he says. "If creature does not move fast enough, you say it again." Harry nods, throat tight. "Sanctum," he whispers. Arcturus holds his gaze. "Yes," he says. "And you do not run to the door. You do not chase voices. You stay in the bed or on the floor. You make yourself small." Harry swallows. "Voices," he echoes. Arcturus's eyes sharpen. "They will try to talk to you," he says. "They will use kindness. They will use someone you remember. They will use your mother's voice if they have to." Harry's breath catches so hard it hurts. His eyes go wide. "Mummy." Arcturus's jaw tightens. "Yes," he says. "If you hear it, you do not answer. You say the word." Harry starts crying, quiet and fast, like the tears spill before he can stop them. "I want Mummy," he whispers. Arcturus does not lie. "Wanting is not a door," he says. Then his voice drops a notch. "But you will not be used." Harry's shoulders shake. He nods because he does not know what else to do. A sharp clang echoes from far outside the room, distant but clear through the stone. It sounds like metal striking metal. Creature stiffens. "Spears," he whispers. Arcturus stands in one smooth motion. His wand is up again. "Behind me," he says. Harry scrambles off the bed and moves behind Arcturus's legs, clutching his cloak, face pressed to fabric. His body remembers being shielded and it clings to that. Another clang, then a shout, muffled by distance, in a harsh voice that is not goblin. Griffook's voice answers, sharper, louder. Harry cannot understand the words, but he hears the tone. It is the tone of a gate being denied. The hum around the sanctum door spikes again, then steadies like the door is angry now. Creature's hands curl. "They are close," he hisses. Arcturus points his wand at the sanctum door. "If it opens," he says, voice flat, "I kill whoever steps through." Creature looks thrilled and terrified at the same time. Harry's scar prickles, then stings. Not the dull ache. A sharper warning, like a needle. He squeezes his eyes shut and presses his face harder into Arcturus's cloak. Then a voice comes through the door, not loud, not a shout. It is soft, warm, careful, like it is placed on the air with two hands. "Harry," it says. Harry freezes so hard his lungs stop working for a second. The voice is not Dumbledore's. It is younger. It is a woman's voice, gentle, trembling with pretend worry. "Harry, sweetheart," the voice says, "it is all right. I am here. I am going to take you home." Harry's whole body tries to turn toward it. Home is a word that hurts, but it is also a word that calls. His stomach twists. His eyes open, wide, searching, even though he knows he should not. Arcturus does not move. His wand stays steady. His voice is low, controlled. "Do not listen," he says to Harry. The woman's voice continues, sweet as syrup. "I know you are scared. I know that man has taken you. It is not your fault. Come to the door, love. I will hold you." Harry's throat tightens. He shakes silent. Creature hisses like a cat. "Liar voice," he whispers. Arcturus's wand tip makes a small circle in the air, and the sanctum door hum shifts, as if it is focusing like an eye. The voice changes. It becomes softer. It becomes familiar in a way that makes Harry's chest crack open. "Harry," it whispers. "My baby, please." Harry's breath punches out. His eyes flood. His lips part and a sound almost leaves, not a word, just a broken noise. Arcturus's free hand clamps on Harry's shoulder, firm, anchoring him. "Say the word," he says sharp now. Harry's mind fights itself. The voice sounds like the lullaby memory. The arms memory. The warm smell memory. His hands shake so hard his fingers hurt. He forces air into his lungs. He croaks. The voice outside goes silent for a beat. Then it laughs, thin and ugly, all warmth gone. "Good boy," it says, and the words are wrong in a way that makes Harry's stomach drop. Arcturus's jaw tightens. "There," he murmurs. That is the truth. Harry says it again louder, because fear is a fire and the word is the only bucket he has. Sanctum. The room answers. The ceiling glow deepens. The walls thicken with pressure. The sanctum door hum drops into a heavy, angry note that makes Harry's bones buzz. Creature's eyes go wide. He drops to one knee instinctively, like the house command has reached through stone and grabbed his spine. Arcturus feels it too. His wand hand trembles for half a second, not from weakness, but from the amount of power moving. The door does not open. It does something worse for the intruders. A sharp crack echoes from outside, followed by a scream, muffled but real. Then another scream. Goblin voices rise, harsh and triumphant. Griffook's shout cuts through the noise, clear as a blade. Now, Arcturus moves. He scoops Harry up with one arm and presses him against his chest, cloak wrapping around him. "Close your eyes," he says. Harry squeezes them shut. He clings to Arcturus's cloak, breathing hard, trying not to throw up. Arcturus turns to Creature. "Stay in this room," he snaps. "If anyone enters, you trigger the deep seal." Creature's voice shakes. "Yes," he rasps. Arcturus strides to the door and presses his palm to it. The door warms, recognizes him, and sinks inward. Cold corridor air hits them. Arcturus steps out. The corridor is chaos. 2 goblin guards are down on one knee. Not dead but hurt, clutching arms where spell burns have bitten. 3 more goblins stand with spears up, eyes bright, teeth bared. Griffook is in the center, coat torn, one cheek cut, blood dark against his skin. On the stone floor lie 2 wizards in plain robes, bound by black bands that look like they have been hammered into place. One of them is screaming, the sound muffled by a goblin gag that is more humiliation than mercy. A 3rd wizard stands behind a goblin shield line, wand raised, breathing hard. His face is half hidden by a glamour shimmer that flickers like heat. He sees Arcturus and freezes for a heartbeat. Arcturus does not give him a second. He flicks his wand, and a slab of black stone rips up from the floor between the wizard and the goblins, cutting the line of sight. The wizard swears and fires anyway. The curse hits stone and splatters sparks. Harry's eyes are squeezed shut, but he feels the heat in the air and whimpers into Arcturus's cloak. Arcturus keeps moving. "Griffook," he says. Griffook's eyes snap to him. He used the black knot. Griffook snarls. He forced a passage through a maintenance seam. He thinks goblin law is a suggestion. Arcturus's voice is ice. "It is not," he says. The wizard behind the stone barrier shifts left, trying to angle around it. Arcturus steps with him, keeping the barrier between them like a moving wall. He does it so smoothly it looks like the corridor itself obeys him. The wizard fires again, a binding spell that snakes around the stone edge toward Arcturus's legs. Arcturus stamps his cane tip down. The binding hits an invisible field and snaps back like a whip, lashing the wizard's own ankles. The wizard yelps and stumbles. Griffook barks a laugh, short and vicious. "Good," he spits. The wizard snarls and yanks at his ankles, then lifts his wand again, aiming not at Arcturus now, but toward the sanctum door. Harry feels the aim like a pressure on his scar. He whimpers, breath quick. Arcturus's eyes go colder. He steps forward and lifts his wand, speaking a phrase that lands like a hammer. A chain of black light shoots out, wraps the wizard's wand hand, and yanks. The wand clatters onto stone. The wizard tries to move, but the chain tightens, pulling him forward across the floor. He scrapes on stone, grunting. Arcturus drags him until he is within reach. Then Arcturus slams him into the wall with a single motion, controlled, brutal. The wizard coughs hard. The glamour flickers and fails, revealing a pale man with slick hair and clean nails, eyes wide with panic and fury. Harry peeks from inside the cloak, just a crack, and sees the face. It is not someone he knows. That does not help. It is still a stranger. It is still danger. Arcturus presses the wand tip under the man's chin. "Name," he says. The man spits blood. "You think you can do this?" he rasps. "You think you can hide him in stone and win?" Arcturus's voice stays low. "Name," he repeats. The man's eyes dart to Harry's cloak, to the small shape in it. He smiles, thin and cruel. "Hello, boy," he says, like that alone is a weapon. Harry flinches and buries his face again. Arcturus's wand tip presses harder. Name, he says again, and now the word is not a question. Griffook steps closer, eyes bright. He is not a bank client, he says. We can cut pieces off. The man's breathing speeds up. He swallows hard. Weatherby, he says, voice shaking with hate. That is what you wanted, yes. The paper name. Arcturus's eyes narrow. That is not your true name, he says. Weatherby's lips curl. True names are for children in fairy tales, he spits. Arcturus does not blink. True names are for contracts, he replies. And you are standing in a place built on contracts. Griffook smiles, sharp. He is learning, he says. Arcturus's wand shifts slightly. Who sent you? He says. Weatherby's eyes flash. The world, he hisses. The people who do not want a black raising the boy who is supposed to save us. Arcturus's mouth tightens. Save you from what? He asks. Weatherby laughs, thin. From the thing inside him, he says. From the mistake you are making by letting him belong to you. Harry's scar burns, sharp and sudden, like the words touched it. He cries out, small and raw, clinging to Arcturus. Arcturus's grip tightens around Harry's back. He does not look down. His eyes stay on Weatherby. You can feel it. Arcturus says quietly. You are using it. Weatherby's face twitches. Everyone uses something, he snaps. Griffook leans in, voice low. Show the seal, he says. Weatherby's eyes dart. He clamps his mouth shut. Arcturus flicks his wand. The black bands tighten around Weatherby's wrists, biting just enough to make him gasp. Show it, Arcturus says. Weatherby's face goes gray. He spits again, then jerks his chin toward his inner pocket. Take it, he rasps. If you think it matters. Arcturus does not reach with his own hand while holding Harry. He looks at one of the goblin guards. The goblin steps forward without being asked, fingers moving fast and precise, stripping Weatherby's coat pocket like he is gutting a fish. A folded slip comes out, thin parchment. The goblin hands it to Griffook. Griffook opens it and his eyes narrow instantly. Stag overlay, he says. And under it, the black knot. Arcturus's gaze hardens. Who taught you the knot? He asks. Weatherby's lips tremble. Then he smiles, cruel again like he is proud of something ugly. A man who believes in order, he says. A man who signs laws with one hand and breaks them with the other. Arcturus's eyes narrow. Crouch, he says. Weatherby's smile widens. Senior, he whispers. Griffook's teeth bare. Ministry rat, he snarls. Harry does not know that name, but he feels the way Arcturus's body stiffens like a wire pulled tight. Arcturus's voice drops. Where is the Will Page? He says. Weatherby's eyes flash. Not on me, he says fast. You think I would carry it into Gringotts? Arcturus's wand tip stays under his chin. We're, he repeats. Weatherby's breathing gets fast. His eyes flick like he is calculating. It is already gone, he says, and he looks toward the sanctum door. Harry's stomach drops. He clings harder. Arcturus's gaze snaps to Griffook. Check the sanctum, he says. Griffook is already moving. He barks orders in goblin tongue, and two guards sprint down the corridor toward the sanctum door. Arcturus turns his head slightly, speaking low into Harry's ear. Keep your eyes closed, he says. Harry squeezes them shut again, tears leaking. Behind him, Weatherby laughs, thin and ugly. You are too slow, he whispers. Arcturus turns his head back. No, he says quietly. You are. He flicks his wand. The chain tightens, yanking Weatherby forward. Then Arcturus slams his cane tip into the floor. The corridor stone ripples. A ring of carved light flares around Weatherby's feet, snapping into a tight circle. Weatherby gasps as the air inside the circle thickens, pressing him down, pinning him upright against the wall like an insect on a board. Weatherby's eyes bulge. What? He chokes. Arcturus leans in close, voice low enough that only Weatherby hears. You used a child's scar as a key, he says. Now you will tell me where the keyhole is. Weatherby shakes his head, panicked. I do not know, he rasps. Arcturus's eyes stay flat. Lee again, he says, and the circle pressure increases just enough to make Weatherby wheeze. Weatherby's eyes water. He shakes his head harder, trying to resist. It is in the old black room, he gasps. It is in the thing you will not open. That is where he put it. That is where you cannot reach without the child. Arcturus goes still. Harry feels the stillness, the way a room goes silent right before a storm breaks. He opens his eyes a crack, peeking, and sees Arcturus's face. It is stone. Griffook returns at a run, breath hard, eyes bright with rage. The sanctum is intact, he snaps. No breach, no entry. They lied to you. Arcturus does not look away from Weatherby. He did not lie about the location. Arcturus says. Griffook's eyes narrow. What location? He asks. Arcturus's voice is cold. The old black room, he says. Creature appears at the corridor bend with a crack, wild-eyed. Deep room, he whispers, terrified and thrilled. Master said deep room. Arcturus's gaze snaps to him. He used the black knot to place the will page in a black relic. Arcturus says. Inside my house system, not the bank. He wants to force me to open what I have avoided. Griffook's mouth tightens. Then open it, he says blunt. Creature hisses. No. He spits. Room bites. Room drinks. Room takes pieces and keeps them. Arcturus looks down at Harry. Harry is shaking, face wet, eyes wide. His scar aches like it knows the deep room, even though he has never seen it. Harry whispers, no room. Arcturus's jaw tightens. We do not have the luxury of comfort, he says quietly. Harry's breath catches. Tears spill again. I scared. Arcturus's eyes hold his for a beat. I know, he says. Stay with me anyway. Harry nods tiny because he has nothing else. Arcturus turns back to Weatherby. How did you move it? He asks. Weatherby coughs, struggling under the pressure circle. The knot opens a seam, he wheezes. It does not open doors, it opens seams. He handed it to the house, like feeding a dog. The house carried it where it was told. Arcturus's mouth tightens. Hey, he repeats. Weatherby's eyes flash. Crouch, he says, voice shaking. Hay came to the house years ago, before you locked it down. He learned. He stole a pattern. He kept it. Griffook spits on the stone. Ministry thief, he snarls. Arcturus's voice is ice. And he thinks he can make my house work for him, he says. Weatherby smiles, even as he struggles to breathe. He thinks you are old and alone, he whispers. He thinks the boy will crack. Harry flinches at the word crack. Arcturus steps back from Weatherby. He lifts his wand and speaks a short phrase. The pressure circle collapses inward. Weatherby drops to his knees, coughing hard, gasping. The black bands stay. Arcturus looks at Griffook. Hold him, he says. Griffook's eyes gleam. Gladly, he says. A goblin guard grabs Weatherby by the hair and yanks his head up, not gentle, not cruel, just efficient. Arcturus turns to Creature. Take me to the passage, he says. Now. Creature's eyes widen. Master wants to go back to house. He whispers, voice shaking with fear. Arcturus's gaze cuts sharp. Yes, he says. And you will not delay. Creature swallows hard. Child comes. He whispers. Arcturus looks down at Harry again. You stay in the sanctum, he says. Harry's eyes go huge. No, he whispers. No, no. Arcturus crouches. Close, voice low. Listen, he says. The deep room is in the black house. It is not under goblin stone. If you come, you become the key they want to turn. Harry's chest tightens. He shakes his head hard, sobbing. I stay with you. Arcturus does not sugarcoat it. If you stay with me in that place, you might die, he says. Harry freezes. The word is too big. His mouth opens. No sound comes out. He stares at Arcturus like the world just tilted. Arcturus holds his gaze. You stay here. He repeats, steady. You are safe in this stone. Griffook will keep the door shut. Creature will go with me. Harry's face crumples. He starts crying again, loud now, the kind of cry that shakes his whole body. No, he sobs. No go. Arcturus's expression tightens. He does not like crying. He does not know what to do with it. But he does not turn away. He reaches into his cloak and pulls out the signet ring. Harry's sobs hitch when he sees it. Arcturus presses it into Harry's small palm again, closing Harry's fingers around it. Hold, he says. If anyone enters, you say the word. If you need help, you say it. The stone will answer. Harry clutches the ring like it is the only solid thing left. He sobs, shoulders shaking, but he nods because he hears the instruction under the fear. Arcturus's voice drops. "You are not being abandoned," he says. "You are being secured." Harry's breathing is messy. "Come back," he whispers, begging. Arcturus holds his gaze. "I will return," he says. He stands before Harry can ask for more. Griffook steps closer, eyes sharp. "If you leave Sanctuary, the bank does not protect you outside its stone," he says. Arcturus's eyes are cold. "I am not asking for protection," he says. Griffook's mouth twitches. "Good," he says. "Then you will owe less apology when you bleed on the street." Arcturus does not react. He looks at Creature. "Now," he repeats. Creature snaps his fingers. The air folds. Harry lurches as the world shifts, not moved with them, left behind. He reaches for Arcturus on instinct, fingers stretching. But the fold takes Arcturus and Creature away, and leaves Harry standing in the sanctum room with Griffook and goblin guards, and a door that hums like a heart. Harry makes a small broken sound and then clamps his mouth shut hard, because he remembers the rule. Do not run to doors. Do not chase voices. Stay. He crawls back onto the bed, clutching the ring, shaking. Griffook looks down at him, eyes flat. "Stone holds," he says, like he is talking to a lock. "Stone holds." Harry whispers, "Sanctum," and it is not a command this time. It is a prayer. Later that night, the air in Grimmauld Place smells like dust and old anger. Arcturus appears in the hallway with Creature beside him, and the house reacts like a beast recognizing its master. The floorboards creak under his weight. The walls feel watchful. The portraits stay dark, but the glass seems to lean. Creature trembles. "House is pleased," he whispers. "House is hungry." Arcturus's wand is already out. He turns his head toward the scratched door at the back of the hall, the door Creature fears. The door feels heavier now. Not physically. It feels like it has more attention on it, like someone touched it from afar. Arcturus steps toward it. Creature scuttles after him, voice shaking. "Master should not," he hisses. Room bites. Room takes. Room does not give back. Arcturus stops in front of the door. He does not touch it yet. He looks down at his ring, then at the cane, then at Creature. "You said the room bites thieves," he says. Creature swallows. "Room bites everyone," he whispers. Arcturus's eyes narrow. "Then I will feed it the correct meal," he says. Creature's ears droop in dread. "Master is crazy," he mutters, then clamps his mouth shut like he expects Arcturus to hear the thought. Arcturus places his ring hand on the door. The wood is cold. The handle warms as if it recognizes blood. The scratched marks around the lock seem to deepen, like the door is smiling with teeth. Arcturus turns the handle. The door opens inward without a squeal. Cold air spills out, but it is not normal cold. It is the cold of a cellar that has never been warmed by laughter. It smells like metal and salt and old smoke. Creature makes a thin whimper. "No," he whispers. Arcturus steps inside. The room is not big, it is narrow, stone-walled, and the ceiling is low enough that Arcturus has to angle his cane. The floor is black stone, polished like it has been walked by bare feet for centuries. In the center is a pedestal. On the pedestal sits a small box. The box is black wood with carved lines, and the lines are not decoration. They are wards etched so deep they feel like scars. A thin strip of wax seals the box, pressed with a crest that is not a stag. It is a hand with a wand. Arcturus's eyes narrow. Creature trembles behind him. "Box is contract box," he whispers. "Box holds name." Arcturus does not answer. He steps closer. The air around the box tightens. The room hums low, like it is deciding whether it likes him. Arcturus places his wand tipped near the wax seal. He speaks a short phrase, older than ministry speech, older than polite law. The wax softens. A sharp pain spikes across Arcturus's palm like a bite. His fingers tighten around the cane, knuckles white. He does not flinch away. Creature gasps. "Room bites master," he whispers, horrified. Arcturus exhales once, controlled. "It checks," he says. It does not trust. He presses again, and the bite eases. The wax cracks. The box lid lifts by itself, slow, as if something inside is pushing up. Arcturus leans in. Inside the box is a packet of parchment wrapped in thin black cloth. Arcturus's eyes sharpen. He reaches in and pulls it out. The moment his fingers touch the cloth, the room hum spikes, and his wand hand trembles for a heartbeat. The cloth feels warm, like it has been held against a living chest recently. Creature hisses. It has been moved, he whispers. Someone fed it. Arcturus unwraps the cloth. A single sheet slides free. It is parchment, old, and the ink is dark and clean, not smeared by time. At the top is a heading written in James Potter's hand, rough and hurried. Last Will and Testament. Arcturus's jaw tightens. Creature makes a small broken sound behind him. Missing page, he whispers. Arcturus reads. His eyes move fast, but his face stays controlled. His fingers tighten on the parchment at certain lines, like each sentence is a weight. He reaches the middle of the page. His gaze stops. The room cold deepens, like the stone itself leans closer to listen. Creature whispers, barely audible. What'd it say? Arcturus's voice is low. It names me, he says. Creature sucks in a breath. Guardian, he whispers. Arcturus keeps reading. The next line makes his eyes narrow. Secondary guardian, he murmurs. Creature's ears twitch. Who? He asks, tense. Arcturus's mouth tightens. Andromeda Tunks, he says. Creature freezes, then makes a furious noise. Blood traitor. He spits, then catches himself and looks terrified, because he knows he just insulted someone on a will page. Arcturus does not take his eyes off the parchment. She is family, he says coldly. Her politics do not change blood. Creature bows his head shaking. Yes, master. He whispers, then flinches like he expects punishment. Arcturus ignores the slip. He continues. A line near the bottom is written in Lily Potter's hand, smaller, steadier, like she wanted it clear. If the scar ever burns without cause, do not trust any seal that calls itself light. Arcturus's eyes sharpen. Creature makes a small sound, like he is swallowing fear. Which knew? He whispers. Arcturus reads the final section. His breathing changes, subtle. The room seems to notice. Creature senses it. He leans forward, trembling. Master, he whispers. What? Arcturus's voice drops. The page contains a binding clause, he says. Creature's eyes widen. Contract, he whispers. Name contract. Arcturus does not answer immediately. He stares at the line, as if he wants to burn it out of the world with his eyes. Then he reads it out loud anyway, slow. In the event of pursuit by any party claiming destiny, the child's protection may be anchored through the true name of the one who marked him. Creature shudders. No, he whispers. That is bad. Arcturus's jaw tightens. It is a weapon, he says. And a trap. Creature trembles. Name wakes things, he whispers. Name pulls. Arcturus's eyes narrow further. And it is why Crouch wants this page, he says. Because he wants the anchor, and he wants to control what it binds. Creature's voice shakes. Does page say name? He whispers. Arcturus looks at the bottom of the parchment. There is a blank line. Not empty. The ink there has been disturbed, like someone wrote something and then tried to erase it, but the parchment refuses to forget. The letters are faint, hidden under the surface like bruises. Arcturus's fingers tighten. Creature whispers, Master should not read. Arcturus's voice is ice. I will, he says. He lifts his wand and taps the parchment once. A reveal charm meant for faded ink. The letters bleed up through the parchment like old blood rising to the skin. Harry's scar flares. Not in Grimmauld Place. In the sanctum room under Goblin Stone, Harry jerks awake with a gasp, hand flying to his forehead before he can stop it. His eyes are wide and wild. His chest heaves. The ring is clenched in his fist. Griffook looks at him sharp. The scar reacts, he says. Harry whispers, shaking sanctum, like the word can hold his head together. Back in the deep room, Arcturus watches the letters finish forming. The name on the page is clear now. 3 words. Tom Marvolo Riddle. Creature makes a strangled sound like he has been punched. He stumbles back, eyes wide, hands shaking. No, he whispers. No, no. Arcturus's face goes perfectly still. The room hum shifts into something darker, like the stone itself recognizes the name and remembers a debt. Creature's voice is shaking. That name is poison, he whispers. That name is death. Arcturus's eyes stay locked on the ink. That name is the anchor. he says quietly. Creature swallows hard, trembling. Master will use it, he whispers, terrified. Arcturus's mouth tightens into something like grim decision. He folds the parchment with careful precision and tucks it into his inner coat like it is a blade he has decided to carry. Then he turns toward the door. Creature is still frozen, staring at the name as if it might crawl off the page and grab them. Master, he whispers. Child is linked. Arcturus's voice stays low. Yes, he says. Creature's eyes fill with something like panic. What if name pulls him? He whispers. What if name makes him loud? Arcturus steps out of the deep room, shutting the door behind him with a firm click. The hallway feels colder now. The house creaks like it is uneasy. Arcturus looks toward the front of the house, then toward the passage that leads back under goblin stone. His wand is up. His voice is quiet, flat. Then we learn who is holding the other end of the chain, he says. And somewhere under stone, in a room that chews foreign signatures, a 3-year-old boy clutches a heavy ring and whispers a word he barely understands, while his scar burns like it has just heard its true enemy speak its own name.